know if you can hear me okay. We are live right now. We should be live on YouTube, Rockfin. I think that we're live on Rumble. Y'all know, live in Brazil, so I don't really know. I'm gonna have to take y'all word for it. I don't find out until after, but I'm assuming we're live on Rumble as well. Caramba. There we go. Okay, we're live on Rumble. We're live on X. We got a great show for you today. I apologize, I'm a little bit late from my normally scheduled streaming time of 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. I promise you there's a rational explanation. Basically, my baby was in play mode. My baby boy was in play mode, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I could not pull away from my he was too cute, man. I'm gonna lie to you guys. It wasn't that serious. This particular time I didn't have any technical issues. Not that I know about. I think that everybody can hear me okay. But yeah, no, my baby boy, he's been in play mode really for like the last 2 days. But today, after I got done doing work for Hotspot, I went downstairs and he just was in hyper play mode, like laughing, and he's in this phase now where he's decided that he doesn't want to crawl. He's skipped that. He is not crawling. He's gone straight to walking. I'm not joking. And it'll be 4 months, July 8th. And what he does, before he would get really upset and like, kind of like, if he was sitting beside me or sitting on top of me, he starts doing this and he just getting upset and I'll be confused. I don't know what you want from me, bro. Like, you're sitting on top of me, you're cool. He's and then I began to realize he wanted me to hold, like to secure, like hold him up by his arms like this so he can stand up. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And so, whatever, it's cool. You stand up, go crazy, have a good time. So then I noticed that he started moving his feet like this. This is like a couple weeks ago. And now the man is doing this. So anytime we hold him up like this, whether it's on the couch, on our legs, whatever, he starts walking towards us. So yeah, my son is skipping somehow the crawl phase, which I didn't even know was I didn't even know coordination wise that was a thing. Y'all like this video? Y'all share this video. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know that was a thing. Did not know until my son. Apparently, some people say it does happen. Like it's not unheard of, but it's definitely not all that common. But yeah, I found out that apparently you don't need to crawl before you walk. I feel like my whole life is a lie because I was always told to crawl before you walk. But apparently, you can go straight to walking. Who we got? We got Cat83. Hey, Niko, you're going to live stream and do commentary during the debate. So I don't know. That is largely dependent on whether or not my son allows me to do so. I'm not going to lie to you. I wish I could say, yeah, normally I do. You guys know I love covering the debates. And if I do stream it, it will be on Rockfin. So to let everybody know. But I do not know just because that's bedtime. And if I'm like down here doing what I do, being loud and he not sleeping, I'm going to pay for it later. And it ain't going to just be for my baby. It's going to be from the missus as well. So I don't know. I'm going to see how he's acting and we're going to take it from there. But I'm definitely going to do I'm going to watch it. I want to cover it. And if I have time, I might even talk about it tomorrow. But yeah. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. Like I said, dad life is crazy, bro. I'm just going with the flow here, bro. I'm just rolling with the punches like it's not my life anymore. I feel like I'm in the US military, right? I'm out here fighting wars. I'm just a soldier in the war. I don't determine the outcome really. I'm just here fighting it. But he's winning. He and his brother are definitely winning. I have a feeling that moderators will be doing the debating for Biden. Somebody gonna have to do the debating for Biden. It's gonna be the moderators or it's gonna be the cocaine. I don't know which one. I guess we're gonna find out. I guess we are all going to find out together because like, I would like to know how he's going to actually stand up and be conscious and cognizant for what, 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours? That's that boy can't be cognitive and conscious for 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, there's like literally compilations of this. Okay. So, maybe, perhaps it'll be Biden's clone out there. Maybe we'll see. Because it's gonna be Biden's clone, or that boy gonna be hocked up on cocaine, Adderall, and Vyvanse together, and Mountain Dew. I don't know. Like, I just don't. We're gonna talk about it. Kill your egregores. Is that ego? Is that what ego stands for? Because you just taught me something new. If that's really what ego stands for. Happy Thursday. You ready for the nice shit storm? I'm ready to laugh. I know. Hey, listen, we can say what we want to say. Everybody can but I'm not gonna be. I miss Trump on Twitter. Trump was hilarious on Twitter. Every day, for the most part, with Trump on Twitter, we was gonna laugh our ass off at least one time a day, at least, right? I do miss that, and so, like, I'm ready to laugh. It's gonna be the best stand-up comedy we've seen this year. That's what I think. Eric Huso, what's going on, man? It would be hilarious if they overdose Biden and we end up seeing tweaker Biden. Yeah, you mean like AOC? You like AOC on the stage? Oh, man. Brian T, what's going on, man? Quick break from work. That's crazy. I just got started. Get about one more minute and we'll go ahead and get this show on the road. Make sure y'all like this video, like I said. Make sure y'all share. Make sure you subscribe if this is your first time here. By the way, my comrade in arms, Fiorella, got nuked. Her new channel on YouTube got nuked. She didn't get a video suspended. She didn't even get any warnings. She just got her channel completely removed from YouTube after her interview with Scott Ritter went viral. And she didn't even have that many subscribers at the time. I mean, the last I checked, she had like maybe a couple thousand, probably 3,000-4,000. And when her interview with Scott Ritter started going viral, obviously she was getting more subscribers. But the truth is, Fiorella, it's a new channel, and if you know the type of work Fiorella does, she's gone to the Donbass region before, for example, been to Syria. She's gone to the places and has been on the ground doing reporting that other people are scared to do, don't have the means to do, whatever. But she goes there and she does the work, and not only just over there, but in Latin America as well. One of the very few who do that. So I truly feel like she was targeted. I feel like it's not a coincidence that after the Supreme Court overturns a federal ruling that disallowed the Biden administration from putting pressure on social media companies to take down content and creators that they choose or that they feel or choose to believe are dangerous. I don't feel like that's a coincidence that literally she gets removed. And then they say, y'all, not only is her channel removed, right, which most of us are accustomed to, unfortunately, that's not the surprise. What the surprise was is the fact that they said any channel associated with her will also be removed. So now there's a chance that her imposter's channel on YouTube, The Convo Couch, could be removed if she live streams on that channel anytime soon. So y'all make sure y'all go to Twitter. Matter of fact, I'm gonna post her Twitter right now in the comment section. Support her, man. Like, Fee does just amazing work. Fee's just one of those people who does amazing work and is unfortunately severely underappreciated, even by people who claim to uplift, honest journalists, and claim they want to elevate women in the space and claim they want to get the best work from the best. Nah, because I can tell you firsthand, I mean, bro, Fee's gone to Colombia to cover their elections. She came to Brazil 1 year to cover their elections, her and Pasta. They've gone to, hell, I think they went to Cuba. I want to say they went to Nicaragua. No quote me on that. But like, Fee has done the work, and rarely does she ever get the credit that she deserves. So y'all make sure I go follow her. Follow her on Rumble, because that's where her other channel is. Follow her on Rockfin, please. It's sad, man. It's sad, bro. That's the homie, man, for real. Like, I've just, y'all know, for those of you who don't know, me and the Convo Couch have been together since their commencement, since they had 200 followers on Facebook, and that was about it. So like, it just breaks my heart whenever I see her and Pasta just suffering for the consequences of doing great journalism. And it sucks even more whenever I see the people that are supposed to be uplifting those in this situation, they're silent about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy, because I see so many people who get nuked or get censored or whatever, and it's people who are well off, to be quite frank, right? It's people who have the audience that they can build off of and bring with them. It's people that everybody already knows, right? It's people with strong Patreon support, huge followings on Rumble or Rockfin, huge followings on Twitter that's already monetized, etc. Right? Those people, if they get hit on one channel or another, or one video even, all the popular channels or all the people who have huge audiences galvanize behind them, and they end up better because of it. But whenever people like Fee or Pasta who do great work, when they need it, you don't hear enough about it. You don't see them reaching out in the same way. And it sucks, man. It really does. So, y'all ready, man? Y'all ready to get this show on the road? We're gonna try to have some fun today, bro, because it's actually been a pretty damn good week, bro. Assange is free, and when I tell y'all, once again, I slept so much better last night. I slept well. It isn't only because my son actually let me get some sleep, because relatively speaking, he does still wake up like every 4 hours, but that's way better than before, okay? And even between that, I was always it's just pessimistic, man. And then this ruling with Assange comes down, and then the empire tried to do its thing in Bolivia yesterday, didn't work. I'm like, damn, what a week, man. What a week. If it was, the SCOTUS ruling kind of sucks, but we'll deal with that in a second. Jamal Bowman loses, and I'm not happy that he lost to His Highness, but I'm happy that frauds aren't being rewarded by the empire. I am happy about that shit, because he deserved to lose. And actually, the guy that he lost to, people will want to say it's because he's a Zionist. That's why Bowman lost. But we'll look at that race. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't because he was a Zionist. His page doesn't even mention the fact that he was a Zionist. He was uplifted by the establishment because he's a Zionist. But the truth is, he ran a better campaign. He actually ran a better campaign than Jamal Bowman did. And we're gonna go over that in a second. We got the Bolivia, like I said, we got the Bolivia situation, and we're gonna stuff. Well, excuse me. Anyway, reverse, try it again. We have the Bolivia situation that we're going to discuss, because, gente, o que está acontecendo em Bolivia? Sério. I don't know what's happening there. It's a novella. I know everybody's like, coup, CIA, lithium, and like stopping there, but it's actually crazy. The situation in Bolivia, the coup attempt, it's not like what it was with Evo Morales for various reasons, and we're going to definitely break that down. And if you have time after, I strongly encourage you all. I reposted on Twitter, but you can look it up too. Just look at my breakdown from a few years back of the situation in Bolivia. I broke down everything that was happening when Evo Morales was forced out. I broke down everything: the lithium, the deals with China, the lithium triangle. So to give everybody context about why Bolivia, a seemingly innocuous nation, was under the target, found itself in the sights of the U.S. empire, and specifically Marco Rubio, whenever Evo Morales was overthrown. So, but this situation is a little bit different. I'm going to talk about that. And so yeah, man, we just gotta. Even gonna talk about George Galloway going to work with Piers Morgan. Boy, he did what George Galloway does. So we're gonna talk about that too. So really quick, we're gonna talk about this debate. Yeah, probably gonna be hilarious. It's probably going to be hilarious. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I said at the beginning, I'm genuinely curious to know which drugs are going to be given to Biden to keep him awake. Like, because if we talk about the same Joe Biden from the G7 summit, I don't even know how he's going to make it to the stage, let alone finish the debate. So there's that. Eric Husso, thank you for the super chat. I'm not woke or anti-woke, but I am broke, but I identify as anti-broke. Oh my God. Okay, so listen, Eric, I'm going to steal that, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. That shit was hilarious. I'm going to steal it. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I'm going to steal it. And I'm not going to give you credit for it either. I'm not going to give you credit for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assure you that you can know in the future that when I make people laugh by telling your joke that you just actually paid me to tell, and you know, like you going to know, hey, man, you made somebody laugh, man. Niko somewhere out there using my joke to make people laugh because I'm not going to give you credit for it. Yeah, that shit hilarious. And I need somebody to believe that I'm that funny. So, yeah, that anti-bro. Yeah. That's hilarious. I'm sorry, y'all. I needed that one. Anyway, I believe Trump is going to wipe the floor with Biden. I also believe, even though I'm pissed at the majority of RFK stances, I believe, unfortunately, a guy that started out as a genuine alternative, right? A genuine alternative to Trump and Biden on many issues, including the environment, even including on race. And I'm not talking about like just like superficial comments and conversations about race. I'm talking about like RFK actually has a history of going to war for equity, for genuine equity, but not in a way that was pandering. So like, I don't know who the hell this guy is now. I don't. And I feel like his father, RFK Sr., and his uncle, JFK, are turning in their graves. Quite literally. Like, that's how I feel about it. But I do believe that he should have been able to join the stage. He met the requirements, and then they just changed their requirements. It's not unlike what we saw happen to Tulsi, which another person who I don't even recognize her anymore, unfortunately, which is sad, but whatever. When they changed the debate requirements, whenever she got the delegates, and she was supposed to be on stage with Bernie and Biden. And because it was just going to be her, Bernie, and Biden, and she was going to offer a genuine alternative to the superficiality of Bernie and the crypt keeper that is Biden, they were like, yeah, now we're going to change the rules. So I know Jill Stein sued or is suing. Oh, no, she filed a complaint. My apologies. She filed a complaint with the FEC. Because basically CNN is keeping her off the stage. My only gripe would be, once again, that's something you should try to do as early as humanly possible, because otherwise it just looks like a publicity stunt. But I understand, because of the interview we had, I understand why it wasn't possible earlier on. Y'all, if y'all didn't check that interview out, I strongly encourage you to do so, because she actually explains what happened to the money for the Green Party. The long and short of it is the U.S. government and the Democratic Party tried to bankrupt the Green Party, and specifically Jill Stein, because of how successful she was in 2016. So they wanted to actually kill any momentum that had been gained from that election. And she goes into detail about it on the interview. So I strongly encourage you to go check that out. So I think that he should have been allowed on stage, because I'm a man of integrity. If you meet the requirements to get on stage, then you should be able to debate. We should get to hear how horrible all the candidates are. That's how I feel about it, right? But I would have liked to hear Trump's explanation as to why he not only went through with Operation Warp Speed, but presented it as if it was a solution, right? I would like to know why Donald Trump he says that he approved the assassination of Soleimani, right? I don't believe that. Nobody believes it. I don't care. Oh man, he's in charge. Nah, that was one of those situations where he pretended like he was the trigger man. Like, yeah, I did this because I'm against terrorism. Nah, he wasn't in charge, and that was one of the first times that a lot of people realized, bro, you look completely unprepared for this moment. Like no one briefed you on this plan, and you're being asked to do a press conference about it, right? I would like, and RFK at one moment criticized him for that, right? I would like to see some answers for Syria, how he handled Syria. But there is no alternative to imperialism this election except for Jill Stein and for the people who can vote for them, which depending on what state you're on or in, excuse me, Gloria from the Socialist Party. I do want to talk a little bit about though the fact that you want to know how we know we don't have a democracy, a real democracy. And so we don't have democracy, we have representative democracy. I know, asshole, it's representative democracy, but I'm not about to say representative democracy every fucking time I want to talk about our democracy. We know, okay? You know who you are. One of y'all was about to type that shit in the chat. I already know. Anyway, you want to know how we know we don't have a democracy? Because you have to pay in some way, form, or fashion to watch the debate. Do y'all know that? And right now, we don't even know if there's going to be another debate. We don't know if there's going to be another debate which obviously is part of determining the guy who's supposed to be the future of our country, of the United States. Now we know that they're really puppets, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he's supposed to be. They're supposed to put on the act, right? It's supposed to be a grand theater. I'm supposed to be entertained. I'm supposed to be convinced that this person who is one of these people on the debate stage is actually going to be in charge of guiding our country. And the truth of the matter is, they're not even pretending anymore. They're giving us one debate. The crowd they're streaming it. Well, it's on cable too, but they're streaming it. Like you got to have like HBO Max. You have to have cable. Or they say, well, there is one way you could watch it for free. DirecTV is having a 5-day trial period, and you can watch for free for 5 days. Boy, don't fall for that. Your credit card gonna get hit with $200 bill. Don't do that. Don't do that, y'all. But why do I have to pay, ladies and gentlemen, to watch the only two that you're allowing to debate? So it's already sick enough that we've arrived at that point, that there are many people running for president, and actually there are viable candidates that have a level of popularity that if they were allowed to be put out in front of America, people would likely consider voting for them. And they would want to see more debates. And they would want to see more conversations from them, more interviews from them, hear more about their policies. So it's already bad enough we've arrived at only two people, which is Donald Trump and what's left of Joe Biden. But on top of that, in the middle of a depression, because I don't know how else you can describe what the United States is going through economically right now, in the middle of a depression, you're like, hey, man, if y'all want to see these two guys debate over the future of your country so that you can make an educated decision on which puppet you want to vote for, go ahead and shove out some of that money. Literally. Back in the day, bro, it wasn't too long ago that like presidential candidates. Well, to Trump's credit, I know he wants more than one debate, so I'll give him credit for that. I'm not going to but it's just the fact that now we've arrived that there are so many people comfortable with the idea of only one debate in this ridiculously controlled environment, so that the perspective of the outcome can be manipulated in a way that benefits the establishment. It's disgusting. There used to be pride, even in with the people that we disliked, whatever side you were on. There was pride. Like presidential candidates wanted to debate. They want. They want. Nah, bro. Let's go toe to toe. Yeah, incumbents didn't necessarily like the possibility that they could get exposed, but there were also ways to expose their opponents, and they knew that. And people they seized the opportunity to debate. And people could have, even if it was false confidence, people could have confidence that after 6 times of watching, because we had primary debates, good luck with those. Did they even have I think they had one Republican primary debate. I don't even remember. I can't even remember if they had a Republican primary debate, because usually they have a bunch. 2016, what a time to be alive, man. I feel like that was the last time we actually had not a real election, but you know what I'm saying. The theater. It's the last time we had the theater of election. The last time we were entertained. We know it's BS, but hey, at least we were entertained. They don't even waste time, energy, or money pretending that we have a genuine democracy. They're like, what y'all need to be educated for? Y'all know they don't run shit anyway. It's going to be, hold on, let me see what the format, I want to, first of all, it's going to be CNN hosting it. So I don't even know if, I don't think that Fox, let's see, presidential debate format. I don't even usually you get a CNN debate, then Fox hosts it, because there's obviously the inherent biases. Okay, so here we're going to do. We're going to check out these ridiculous requirements, because they acting like they're going into a title match, like a boxing match of some kind. This is all stuff we had to agree to because it's going to be the only time. For real, look, Biden and Trump campaigns agreed to mic muting, podiums among rule. What? With less than 2 weeks until the presidential debate of 2024 election cycle, CNN has released additional details on the parameters agreed upon by Trump and Biden campaigns. The debate, which will be hosted by Jake Tapper and Dana Bash in Atlanta on June 27th, that just screams impartiality, right? Just screams impartiality. And his predecessor, in Atlanta on June 27th, will mark the first in-person showdown of the 2024 election or 2024 campaign between President Joe Biden and his predecessor, former President Donald Trump. Both candidates have accepted the network's invitation and agreed to accept the rules and format of the debate, as outlined in letters sent to the campaigns by the network in May. The 90-minute debate, y'all about to have Joe Biden standing up for 90 minutes? Boy, they're going to have more commercials than an NBA game during timeouts in the finals. I promise you. Ain't no way. Anyway, the 90-minute debate will include 2 commercial breaks, according to the network. And only 2 commercial? Okay, guys. We're going to see. I don't got confidence. But all right, guys. It'll only have 2 commercial breaks, according to the network, and campaign staff may not interact with their candidate during that time. I don't feel like that's why. If the campaign needs to update them on, if a candidate misspeaks, and because that happens, just when you're in a moment, I'll say somebody else's name instead of the name I wanted to say, or I'll say the name of a city somewhere else instead of a city that I wanted to say. I don't see what the problem is with correcting your. I feel like that's the point of having staff there, but whatever. It says that microphones will be muted throughout the debate, except for the candidate whose turn it is to speak. While no props or pre-written notes will be allowed on stage, candidates will be given a pen, a pad of paper, and a bottle of water. Okay, y'all. My question is, why are pre-written notes not allowed on stage? Because if you're doing a debate to be the president of the United States of America, I need you to have your shit together and organized so that I can make a good decision on who I'm going to vote for. Not that my vote would count, but on who I'm going to vote for in this imaginary election, right? Imagination. It's not a bad thing for people to have notes. Don't cheat. Like, don't have the answers. Don't have the questions that are going to be asked so that you can prepare in advance for the answers. Like, you know, like what Donna Brazile did for Hillary Clinton. That's something totally different. But why wouldn't we want the candidates to be as prepared as possible so that they're answering correctly? We want both of them to have to basically quote statistics and what? Boy, you are debating topics about the United States and foreign policy, and it could be any number of things. Like, I want you to have information, because this is effectively setting them up to lie. Because there ain't no way Trump nor Biden is going to be able to remember shit. Biden especially. I feel like that's kind of crazy that they even did that to him. But what I think personally, because of CNN hosting it, I believe that they didn't want Trump to have talking points about Biden, or able to refute Biden's talking points with the actual statistics. You get what I'm saying? It devalues his responses, because people can say he's just making stuff up. And sometimes he does, but you know, if he had the information in front of him, it would be less likely that you could accuse him of that. I think that the presidential candidate should be able to be prepared. It's a fucking debate. When I go into debates, I'm prepared. If I was debating to be the president of the quote unquote free world, quote unquote, I would definitely want to be prepared. Now, I could probably get away with 35-year-old, you know, fully mentally present Niko could get away with it. Biden, hell no. Trump, it gives him a disadvantage, in my opinion, when it comes to the optics, because they'll just say he's just making this up. And how many people, with the way that Google results are skewed, the way that they spin these stories the next day, it's crazy when you look at the results when you Google stuff now. And I like to Google stuff just because it's funny to look at the results. Because it used to be that you get articles and that was the first thing that popped up, just informational pieces about what's happening and what the important key points are. Now, the stuff that pops up is telling you how you should perceive whatever just happened, right? So in the debate, for example, it's how you should take the points that Trump made, how you should receive those points, how you should how you should perceive Biden's case. Like, no, I'm gonna perceive them how I feel like perceiving them. I'm gonna perceive them based off of what I saw. No, it's telling you the opinion you should have. Those are the articles that pop up first. So I feel like optically, they should be able to be prepared so that if there's accusations of somebody making stuff up, you can be like, nah, these are the numbers. And people can go actually check those numbers in real time and confirm, so that they're making educated decisions about who they want to vote for. So they're not talking about the crowd. In order to, this is the interesting part. So in order to meet CNN's qualification for the debate, candidates must satisfy the requirements outlined in Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution to serve as president. Both Biden and Trump meet those requirements, as do RFK Jr., Cornel West, and Jill Stein, who are running on non-major party tickets. Okay, so why aren't y'all letting them on stage? Participants must also file a statement of candidacy with the Federal Election Commission. All 5 have done so. All participating debaters must appear on a sufficient number of state ballots to reach the 270 electoral vote threshold to win the presidency, and receive at least 15% in 4 separate national polls. So you see what they do, right? You see how they do this. This is the shit I be talking about. So CNN's qualification debate, you must, satisfy the requirement for the Constitution. You would figure that should be sufficient enough for this thing that we pretend is a democracy. And once upon a time, it was sufficient enough. It was sufficient. Now they get to like, yeah, here's some bullshit we just made up. So yeah, you gotta now it's 15%. Once upon a time, it was what 5% or 10% at least in multiple polls, and it was like 2 or 3 polls. Now it's 4 polls, 15% in 4 polls, like, which is crazy because we saw a bunch of polls that say Hillary Clinton had a 99% chance of winning, and she got her ass whooped. Polls are subjective. The way that they're conducted, it requires subjective methodology because it's just you can't poll as much people as you need to. So it has to be subjective. Now it's qualitative. You know what I'm saying? Like some people do their best, but like, what does 15% mean? I'm trying to win. 15% today could mean 30% tomorrow if I'm allowed to debate. So this is them just putting their own, they just made this up out of thin air. They said, what does RFK Jr. and Jill Stein and Cornel West not have? And unfortunately for both Stein and West, they don't have the 15%. So cool, that knocks them out. But the 270 electoral vote threshold to win the presidency, it's hard to meet that if you're not part of a party already, a major party. You get what I'm saying? But here's the thing. You don't have to meet that requirement right now. The requirement has not arrived. You still have time to get on those state ballots, but they just put this rule in right now so that RFK Jr. can't get on the debate stage. Because what the heck? How are you gonna make a requirement about something that doesn't, you're making a requirement based on a rule that doesn't need to be fulfilled for like at least another month or so? Because we don't have a democracy. That's the moral of the story, guys. This is going to be theater, right? I believe that unfortunately we're going to see what did they say? Who was it? Hillary or Biden? I think it was Biden. Yeah, it was Biden, right? Who said nothing will fundamentally change? That was Biden, I believe. That's what we're going to find out. Why, regardless of who ran or who wins, nothing will fundamentally change. We're going to find out just how similar they are. Eric, man, thank you for the super chat. Trumpers preparing by arguing with dementia patients at local nursing homes. You're welcome for the joke, brother. Oh, man, Eric is on the road today. Yo, Niko, they're also saying most of the black media outlets weren't invited to the debates as well. Your thoughts on? Yeah. Oh, wow. That's actually kind of crazy because the reason why I feel like that's insane is because you're in what is known as the Black Mecca. Atlanta is, for those of you who don't know, is known as the Black Mecca. For you to not invite a bunch of black media outlets to the debates and you're doing the debates in Atlanta, CNN, they got to bring their people there. CNN isn't based in Atlanta. They're based in New York. And you're like, yeah, man, we're going to have CNN come all the way out here to host a debate in Atlanta. Black people, hey, but y'all ain't invited. Y'all can watch from outside, though. That's crazy. Is that really what happened? Hey, yeah, you guess what? Unfortunately, some of those black people still going over Biden. Right? That's the sad part. If y'all can't, I'm not going to say Trump isn't a puppet of the empire. I don't give a damn. Like, you're the president of the United States, you're a puppet of the empire if you're even allowed to arrive at that point. However, that don't mean the empire don't got a favorite. And it's obvious at this point who their favorite is. Okay, so let's be clear about that. But they also, so the truth is, Trump has actually been rising in popularity amongst black voters. And it's mostly Joe Biden's fault because he's just been sinking in popularity amongst black voters and they got to vote for somebody. You know, that's their mentality. And Trump has actually been going to the hood. I mean, I watched that happen. He went to the hood. He's been just doing the work. They've actually, I mean, I don't know if y'all noticed, but Trump's campaign they've been actually doing campaign work. I know that sounds kind of weird. Like, of course he is. No, generally speaking, establishment candidates follow a formula that, like a formula of campaigning. It's kind of antiquated. It's very rigid and formulaic. But Trump, they've been doing like populist campaigning, registering people at rallies, having surrogates go out and do random speeches to recruit people to not only be part of the campaign, but register people to vote. They're doing the work, and they're doing it in all communities, right? They're not taking any vote for granted. They're even creating people to follow the ballots, to follow paper ballot trails. So which I respect, right? Because, if you're going, nobody wants to get cheated twice. I'm not saying he was cheated, YouTube. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the likelihood of him being cheated was probably pretty high. Anyway, so, it's the show, guys. Welcome to the show. That's all I can say about that. I'm probably going to watch it. I don't know if I'll be able to stream it. If I do, it will be on Rockfin. If I do, it'll be on Rockfin. I think, y'all let people know, and I'm gonna tweet out about this too. I know that there are going to be people who are tempted to tweet to like live stream on Twitter, like they would on YouTube. We can't do that no more. My channel did get suspended because we got like 55,000 people watching. It was during the 2020 elections. We had 55,000 people watching at the same time. We were like, yo, what the hell? Because we actually we started streaming at the same time. No, before actually, maybe 10, 15 minutes before the debate started. So whenever people looked up debate, we were already in an algorithm and we got the benefit from it, and they nuked my channel because of it. But they let us come back after they just forced us to delete the video, unfortunately. But my point is, and everybody who's tried to stream the debates after that on YouTube, they get hit. So I want to be clear about that. If you have a favorite streamer, if they're up and coming or if they're like mid-level and they think that it's cool to stream on YouTube, don't do it. Don't stream the audio. I wouldn't even risk putting up the picture, right? If you want to do commentary on it while people are watching it, that's another thing. Don't do it. And I do not do it on X either. I would just refrain from doing so. I know everybody's like, well, X is safe. No, it isn't. Elon Musk is a traitorous, elitist capitulator. A duplicitous capitulator, okay? Don't do it. I just would not take the risk. I know everybody thinks X is safe. It's a safe zone, but it's not. So if you're going to do it, I would stream on Rumble, right? I would stream on Rockfin, especially. I don't know about Rumble enough to trust streaming there because they have their investors and stuff like that, and they do have fear. They have the fear and possibility of being sued because of the visibility of Rumble. So Rockfin, however, people usually stream there and it's pretty good. Eric Huso, thanks for the super chat again, my man. I will be writing in Free Palestine just like I did in the primary. My man. This man Eric is coming with bangers on bangers on bangers. Russell Brand streaming the debate. Russell Brand streaming where? Oh, I'm assuming on Rockfin. Rumble. I'm assuming that he's streaming on Rumble. The coup in Bolivia. We're going to talk about that. Really quick. No, I mean, we ain't going to be really quick. Good lot to talk about. So, as most of you all know, there was a coup attempt in Bolivia last night. It might have been the fastest failed coup attempt in history. Somebody said that there was one in Africa that happened that failed a little bit quicker. But I don't know, man. It was literally apparently 3 hours. That was the length of the coup attempt, y'all. I bullshit you not. It was 3 hours. Now, naturally, everybody is assuming, and probably rightfully so, that this was a plot by the CIA in the United States, right? There are a lot of things in common with the last coup attempt, a lot of similarities, okay? For example, the Socialist Party, Arce is his name. Yeah, President Arce, Socialist Party, president, they're still in charge, okay? The lithium reserves in Bolivia are still the largest in Latin America, okay? So that's still a thing, okay? Bolivia joined BRICS, or they put in an official request to join BRICS, and specifically Vladimir Putin very publicly welcomed them with open arms. which means that is an economic partnership with the largest, with one of the three members of the Lithium Triangle, which is Argentina, Chile, Bolivia. Okay. But you got the largest lithium deposits in Latin America joining BRICS, which is partially, I mean, I would say that Russia and China run BRICS, if we're being honest. China has the largest lithium deposits. They have the most. Do you understand where I'm getting at? That means you just created, in a sense, the same type of relationship to some degree that the United States had with Saudi Arabia and OPEC. In other words, you're almost creating a market monopoly if you can lock in an economic relationship with Bolivia, if you're BRICS. So there's that. Okay. It was a military-backed coup specifically. A disgraced, dismissed general was behind it. Okay. So we're checking the blocks. Okay. Checking off the blocks. And for those of you who don't know, there's an election coming up. Mid-2025, there's an election coming up in Bolivia. So it has all the boxes checked for why people believe the United States was involved. Oh, and by the way, this is the part that people might not know. The ghost, the political ghost, if you will, of Evo Morales, he's not dead. I'm just saying that the political ghost, as in the specter that has haunted the United States, it seems like he is he's impervious to any damage, threat, coup, banishment. They tried everything, and my man's back. Okay, Evo Morales might be, is likely to be running for president again. Yeah, that a lot of people don't really know about that part. Now, why I say now there, so they have invested because of Evo Morales making it very clear in the past. Not only will he continue to use his resources to benefit the people of Bolivia before anybody else, and specifically the indigenous population of Bolivia. Not only is he known to speak out against the empire, of course, we all know that, but he was doing a deal with China to help mine the lithium in Bolivia. So, and at that moment back in the day, during that coup, the reason that the United States were so pressed about China doing that deal with them is because simultaneously they were losing their other partner in the Lithium Triangle, which was Chile, because this was during all the riots to overthrow the puppet government that the United States had installed there in Chile. Okay, so that was Evo was perturbing them. They were not happy. That's why they overthrew him. They claimed it was because he violated the Constitution and was running for a fourth term. That is a lie. The Supreme Court of Bolivia said it was a lie. They said no. Actually, disallowing Evo Morales from running again violates not only the Constitution of Bolivia, but also the Constitution of the organization, what was it, OAS? Yeah, I think it's Organization of American States. Basically, it's every country is a part of it except for, I believe, the United States and Canada. And their Constitution says that you can run and win as many, which is normal actually. You can run it as long as you win. And you can be president as long as the people keep thinking you're doing a great job. And his mandate was clear because not only was Evo Morales winning, but the Socialist Party that he belongs to was also winning. So there's a bunch of check blocks to probably safely assume to some degree that the United States was in some way involved. However, right now, there is no solid proof. I want to be clear about that. It is conjecture at this moment, unless somebody's seen something that I have not. Now, let's talk about the novella that's going on. There's a novella happening that that needs to be discussed because people don't realize Arce, the current president of Bolivia, and Evo Morales have been beefing for years, even though they belong to the same party, And Arce won because Evo Morales backed him when they did the new election after the coup. Okay? So they're both part of the same party. However, right now, the party has been split between support for Evo Morales and support for Arce. Okay? Yeah. A little bit of drama going on there because some people probably want to know, well, why would Evo Morales run if Arce is his ally? They're not actually allies anymore, even though they mostly they agree mostly on the same things, from everything from domestic policy for the most part and foreign policy. So they agree on most things, but word on the street is Arce was supposed to step down. He was supposed to step down after winning that election, right? Because the point of him winning, so Evo Morales backed him. People have to remember Evo Morales had to back him from Mexico because he was exiled by the coup. The coup leaders exiled him. So when the Socialist Party ran again, they ran Arce. Morales backed him, and Arce ran handedly. The plan allegedly, right? This is what reports say. The plan allegedly was for Arce to run one term and step down so that Evo Morales could once again rise to his rightful place as president, because regardless of what the empire says, the people of Bolivia and the Socialist Party that they both belong to elected Evo Morales, and he was removed through illegitimate means. Okay? So there's beef there. It's even crazier because I don't want to get her name wrong. The interim president, who is now serving time in jail, their interim president, Janine Áñez. Y'all remember her? She tweeted out, matter of fact, I'm gonna show y'all because I couldn't believe it. It's really a novella, ironically and also unironically, because it's Spanish. But yeah, there we go. So let me show y'all. I don't want y'all to think I'm capping. This is real life. I was confused while researching this topic because a lot of it was making sense, but it was also not making any sense, because this woman that is sitting in jail right now, y'all, she's in jail for a coup, for helping to lead a coup. Total repudiation of the mobilization of the military in Plaza Murillo, attempting to destroy the constitutional order. The MAS, Socialist Party, with Arce and Evo must leave through the vote in 2025. We Bolivians will defend democracy. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, the woman who is currently sitting in jail, literally sitting in jail for doing exactly what was done yesterday, a woman from the opposition party of both Evo Morales and Arce, is condemning a military coup. The same type of military coup that she tried to do, defending herself in court. Do you understand what I'm saying, y'all? But the drama actually gets crazy because let me make sure I'm pronouncing his name right, because y'all know buddy, these names. Zuniga, I believe his name is how you pronounce it. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's Zuniga. Yeah, it's Juan Jose Zuniga. He was a general before, okay? But do you know why he was removed from his post? Giving more credence to the idea of Evo Morales being president. See, Zuniga was removed from his post because he said that Evo Morales cannot be allowed to run for office, cannot be the president of Bolivia again. And if he becomes a president, if the people vote for him, or if he even tries to become president, he will use his power as the general to arrest Evo Morales in 2025. Because of that, Arce, who technically speaking, if Evo decided to run, that's the opponent of Evo at the moment. He fired immediately. He fired the general, dismissed him for threatening Evo Morales. Now, y'all might not know, but this was like years later, technically speaking, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. This coup happens. Okay. Unfortunately, we're not all that surprised about coups happening in Bolivia or Latin America, rather. It's just kind of like, well, another coup. CIA call and collect as usual. This coup happens. However, Madame Janine, right-wing coup extraordinaire herself, is against it. Evo comes out, condemns it, obviously, but he mobilizes people. President Arce comes out, mobilizes his people against it, and it's shut down in 3 hours. Arce comes out looking because like he literally put out a tweet, went on TV, and he told his people to come out, and they came out for real. And then Zuniga told his team, his people, to stand down almost immediately and said that he didn't want any blood in the streets. So right before Zuniga gets arrested, right before, because the reporters were interviewing him, right before he gets arrested, y'all, he comes out and says, Arce, because of a lack in popularity, asked him to stage this coup, to stage a failed coup on purpose. I bullshit you. Matter of fact, we're going to find out. I want y'all to think I'm bullshit. I want y'all to think I'm bullshit. I'm not joking, y'all. He said right before he was arrested on camera that the president told him to stage the coup because he wasn't popular. Or at least not as popular as he needs to be. Because you have to remember, it's because the party itself is popular, right? He's not worried about losing to a right-wing candidate. That's not who he's worried about losing to. His biggest opponent, Arce's biggest opponent right now, is Evo. So where is it at? They even have, did you see the video where Arce and Zuniga are like talking back and forth? Like, are you going to stand down? You got to stand down, et cetera, et cetera. Are you going to follow order? He didn't. But hold on. I got to find this. Come on, where is it at? I thought I saved this. Let me check this one. Y'all give me a second. I gotta find this. This was like when I read it. We cannot no. No. Oh, here we go. BBC article. Just found it. Yeah, buddy. Y'all need to see this. Yeah, we gonna talk about it. Cause like I said, bro, novella. This is a novella. Oh no, wrong one. BBC, where you at? Also, for obvious reasons, BBC might need to change their name. Oh man, is this it? BBC? Yeah. Okay, right here. So, speaking from Murillo Square after it was taken by troops, General Zuniga accused an elite of taking over the country, vandals who have destroyed the country. You guys zoom in so I can read this. Feel free. Can y'all see? Can y'all see this? I'm gonna make sure everybody can see. Yeah, okay, everybody can see. All right, we good. Okay, I need to see it. But moments before his arrest, the general told reporters that the president, Arce, okay, president of the Socialist Party, president of the country of Bolivia, had instructed him to get out the blindados, armored vehicles, in a bid to improve his waning popularity. He was bundled into a waiting police van seconds later. Andrea Barrientos, a leading opposition senator, echoed his claim, suggesting that an economic and judicial crisis had prompted Mr. Arce to launch a self-coup. And that's why I said it's a little bit different, right? Because, yeah, technically speaking, right, the United States has a vested interest in plotting a coup in Bolivia because of them recently announcing officially like that they are requesting to join BRICS. This was what, in May? Okay, that's official. And Putin basically said, y'all good. So they're going to be joining BRICS. It's also within the interest of the United States specifically to make sure that they get control of the government and therefore, hopefully, in their mind, control of the elections before Evo Morales has a chance to, because, you know, it's already been cleared up. He can run again. It's legal. Okay. And if he runs, he's more popular than Arce. Arce won because of Evo Morales. Okay. So if he runs again against him in the same party, he's going to win. So it is within, you know, the United States has a vested interest in making sure that Evo Morales doesn't even get a chance to run again. Okay. But the problem is, and once again, this military coup attempt it almost exactly mimics the last military coup attempt, and the economic reasons, the economic motivators have not changed. In fact, if anything, it gives more credence to why the United States would likely be involved. The problem now, though, is that technically Arce has a vested interest in pretending that somebody is trying to overthrow the government, just like the United States has a vested interest in actually overthrowing the government. So as much as I would like to pretend, ladies and gentlemen, that things are as clear-cut as the United States is doing what they do, and this is just a result that, you know, it's just a result of U.S. imperialism, and really another result, an example of how the U.S. imperialism is waning. They don't have the influence and the cachet to get it done like they once did. I would like to believe that it's just that simple. But the truth of the matter is, that last military coup was wild. It wasn't like people, y'all got to remember, it wasn't like people weren't in the streets last time galvanizing behind Evo. That happened. People died trying to protect their democracy in Bolivia. People died trying to protect the vote that they put in for Evo Morales in Bolivia and for the Socialist Party in Bolivia. People died trying to protect the sovereignty and the sanctity of their electoral system. So it wasn't as if people didn't rush to the streets. In fact, you can make an argument that Evo Morales became more popular because of what happened during that first coup. So if you're Arce, right? Shit, it worked the first time. Maybe we run it back. Maybe we run it back, but we do it for play this time. Maybe we run it back, but not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, just enough so that people can galvanize, can feel like they're part of the liberation of our nation, part of securing our democracy, right? Just enough so that everyone galvanizes behind me. Now, we don't know, but the problem is that in this particular election, in this particular coup, not this particular election, my apologies. The problem is in this particular coup in Bolivia, the United States isn't the only one with a vested interest in overthrowing, quote unquote, or no, not overthrowing. The United States isn't the only one in a vested interest in conducting a coup. Not overthrowing necessarily, but conducting a coup. And if you're RSA, think about it, people. Zuniga was dismissed from the military because of what? Threatening Evo Morales. In other words, there is already a name that is well known that can be used as a scapegoat. So now if Zuniga or this other senator says, nah, the president told me to do this, why would I tell him to do that? I'm the one who fired him. I'm the one who dismissed him. Why would I organize a fake coup with the, to prevent Evo Morales from being president when I'm the one who dismissed this general for threatening Evo Morales to protect his opportunity to run and be president again? This allegation is beyond me. Yeah. Listen, y'all. Politics is a deadly game sometimes. I know you want to believe sometimes that because somebody wears a certain label, somebody calls himself a socialist, calls himself a communist, calls himself a leftist, calls himself an independent, calls himself an anti-imperialist, whatever, anti-war, labels is cute, but politics can bring out the beast, the dog, the monster in anybody. People will do like I said, it's not even like Arce has been a bad president. His approval ratings aren't actually that horrible. It's just, no, matter of fact, his approval ratings are not that bad. Actually, they're not bad. And in most places in the country, it's above 50%, and where it's not above 50%, is damn near close to it. And where he is not close, he doesn't have low disapproval, or he doesn't have high disapproval ratings. So it isn't like, once again, people hate him there. It isn't like he would lose to a right-wing candidate. The problem is he might have high approval ratings, but Evo Morales is the original. Arce is the copy. And everyone in Bolivia knows that. Evo Morales has not lost an election. And if the reports are true, and Arce was supposed to step down, which would make sense because, like I said, so Evo Morales has his own radio show, and he spends a lot of his time not only criticizing the right, but criticizing the right that are trying to sell out the country to the United States. But he spends a lot of time criticizing Arce. And if they have a lot of the same policy views, foreign and domestically, what other reason would he have to have beef with the guy that literally he helped to elect? Unless they had a deal and the party members made a deal that he would run, because literally, if Evo returned to Bolivia, he could have been killed, let alone arrested. That would have been, being arrested would have been the least of his worries. He could have been killed, right? If the idea was for him to step down and he didn't do so, that's the only thing I could think of that would piss off Evo to the point where now I have to run against you. And to the point where the possibility of it was to the point where the possibility of him running led this general to openly threaten Evo Morales. General Zuniga, the guy who just got arrested for the coup attempt, it led the possibility, the real life possibility of Evo running in 2025 was so palatable, so believable that Zuniga lost his job as a general threatening Evo. So it ain't like it just was some fairy tale that may happen, but probably isn't. It was like a likelihood type of situation. So if this is true, ladies and gentlemen, then Bolivia has other problems. They got other problems they got to deal with, because what this could lead to, and this is a story that kind of needs to be discussed a little bit more often, this could lead to a split in the Socialist Party. They could end up breaking that party up into two different wings and lose power. And then the votes could end up being split, and the right-wing opposition party in Bolivia could end up taking over and selling out to the United States and the West. Because the request for BRICS has been made, I don't believe that they've been officially formally approved yet, right? Because there's a process for it. But if this coup attempt was successful, that could have stopped everything, right? So there's that. But two, if the parties are end up being split, and somehow the right wing, the right wing opposition party, at least a dominant right wing opposition party, ends up coming into power because of the split, who does that benefit? So we really don't know, man. We don't know who was behind this, is my point. Because there are too many vested interests, unfortunately. I wish I could tell y'all that I wanted to talk about this subject because I was ready to blame somebody. I can tell y'all, is it safe to assume, is it probably right to assume that to some degree the United States had some involvement in this coup? Probably, it usually is, right? It got all the check marks, but the problem is it almost looks too, you know what they say, like, damn, man, this crime, all the evidence is just right here in front of me. It's like, this case was too easy to solve. He's obviously the criminal. He's obviously guilty. Like when it's a situation where it's like, yeah, it is exactly how United States coups look. But it was nowhere near as violent. Or say Zuniga he told his people to stand down fast. Y'all, that's weird. I don't know if y'all know that. That's weird. During a coup, you don't tell your military to stand down because some civilians show up. We're not seeing reports of mass deaths like the last time. The coup only lasted 3 hours. He was allowed to talk to reporters, but the moment that he mentions that the president put him up to the coup, that is when he gets thrown in the police car. Guys, I don't know. I don't know, bro. I can't tell y'all with absolute 100% certainty that this was the United States this time. I can tell you that it was somebody, somebody was pulling the strings. I can tell you the United States would have benefited from a successful coup attempt, but the United States already learned the hard way. You can coup the Bolivian government, but you still got to hold elections. And Bolivia has one of the most secure elections in the world, which is how we ended up back here, right? They committed a coup, still had to do an election because otherwise they couldn't maintain the peace. They did an election and the right got their asses whooped again. And a lot of them ended up in jail because of it. So the United States, just like they found out in Venezuela, just like they found out, once again, in Bolivia, in places like Cuba, like their elections are even in Russia, their elections are held to some degree, even here in Brazil. Even though I'm not really a fan of Lula right now, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Their elections were so secure, you couldn't overthrow them. So why would you try to repeat the same thing? Like, I know that actually is not like the United States. As crazy as that sounds. Like, they're not going to do the exact same thing if they knew it wasn't an abysmal failure. Right? They try to coup you using different methods. they're not going to do the exact same thing to the same party, right? In the exact same situation, when they know that the resolution, which would be the election system that is Bolivia's, the solution is still there. The resolution to that situation, like you could overthrow him, and then what? Evo Morales wins because he's still in the country now. It actually doesn't make sense for them to do that. You get what I'm saying, y'all? Like that's why it got novella. It got novella written all over it, man. It's just drama. So yeah, man, I would like to know what y'all think about that. Like I said, it ain't really as clear cut. It ain't really as clear cut as people want to believe it is. Unfortunately, I wish it was. Let's go ahead and check out my guy. What's my man's nickname? Gorgeous George. Y'all knew that. Y'all know that was George Galloway's nickname back in the day, once upon a time. Pretty George. Okay, that was weird. He just decided to change my video. So George Galloway did what George Galloway does. He went on Piers Morgan. They had a conversation about the situation in Gaza, and Piers was actually, for the most part, agreeing with George Galloway and was actually explaining to him how he came to the conclusion that basically he can no longer reconcile, based off of the facts presented, what he can no longer reconcile really what Israel was doing in Gaza. So the first part of the interview was kind of surprisingly cooperative. Then there was like a mini debate on Brexit, and we're not going to watch that part, but basically because George was for Brexit, but it was because he understood the corruption of the EU. But Piers like, well, look at the result. It's like not really, it's not panning out to what it was supposed to be. And George explains like, duh, because these motherfuckers stepped in and didn't do what they were promised to do after Brexit, right? The whole point of Brexit was to be independent, and then you wouldn't be adherent or beholden to the empire. In that particular case, the empire of the EU, that wing. But instead, they just became independent and shit went south because the promises and the reasons for Brexit weren't honored by the politicians who pushed for Brexit, right? So then they get on this conversation about Russia. Russia's a big deal for the UK because everything is expensive now. Everything is expensive. Hell, they had that. They almost they went like 1 year with almost not having any fucking heat. Energy was crazy because they were getting all their gas from Russia. I don't even know how that ended up happening. How do you have beef? I don't even know how the UK allowed that to come into fruition. Because how the hell, not even just the UK, the West, the Western Europe in general, you have perpetual beef with a superpower nation. And you're like, hey man, so I know we got, problems and things ain't always the smoothest between us, but can we get some of that gas off of you, bro? Like we can get some of that gas so we can not freeze our asses off in the winter. and then you have this beef, but you still somehow manage to make this deal to make sure that they still keep getting this natural gas over to you. And y'all dumbasses decide, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to actually help to start a war by weaponizing neo-Nazis to help kill Russian ethnic people in Ukraine and Donbass region. But I really hope that this doesn't spoil our relationship. I hope that we can still keep our agreement to keep this gas coming. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but that's whatever. That's the West nowadays. So Piers and George had this conversation about Russia, and George just proceeds to educate him, because Piers tries to cut him off. He does everything, but you can't cut off Gorgeous George. You can't cut that man off. You're gonna have to let that man cook. So we're gonna check it out.
and correct me if I'm wrong here, but with the Ukraine war, you feel that this was not necessarily a justified, but an inevitable response.
Provoked. I'll go with
which is what Farage said.
Yeah, and not just Farage, but Macron today, who said he's going to continue his dialogue with Putin.
Well, you have to try and forge peace.
In a way, that's all that Farage was.
In terms of his provocation, I'm very curious about this, because here's my thing about the provocation. Ukraine voted by a massive majority, 90-something% of the people in the 90s, to become an independent, democratic, sovereign country in Europe. And they were then persuaded by the international community to give up their nuclear deterrent defense.
Well, it wasn't theirs, it was the Soviets.
Okay, but they were persuaded to give up their weapons.
Yeah, but it wasn't theirs.
And part of...
Okay, so really quick, I just want everybody to remember this conversation about Ukraine holding a vote to become an independent nation, right? Because at one point, an argument about Crimea is going to come up. And I just want y'all to remember how passionate Piers was about this point, about Ukraine voting to be an independent nation.
Russia was the inheritor state.
But the deal was that if they did that, then they would be guaranteed their independence. What could be more independent than, in Ukraine's case, for example, wanting to be, off their own volition, a member of NATO? But
we had
which is a defensive alignment.
In 2014, there was a government that did not want to do those things, and it was overthrown in a coup d'etat. The parliament on fire, the president fleeing for his life, and the first act of the terrorized deputies, literally with a gun at their head, was to outlaw the Russian language. Now, 1/3
that is literally insane, bro. I work with people who are from Ukraine, right? Like they grew up in Ukraine, and some of them grew up in Ukraine during the Soviet era. And they speak both languages, and it's just like wild to think they're my age, bro. Like they're my age. Like the language that they grew up speaking and they still speak primarily is outlawed in the country that they were born in. Is that, bro? What? When that's how the conversation starts out, I don't understand how you got the audacity to even think like, man, I'm definitely on the right side of this argument. If that's how your conversation starts out, with the country that outlaws a language where 1/3 of the people speak it, all right, good luck, Piers.
People are Russian-speaking people, including Zelensky, the greatest showman on earth. I could call him something else, but
what else would you call him?
I'd call him a thief. I'd call him a fraud. I'd say that he fooled the Ukrainian people, that he was going to make peace.
I'd call him an absolute hero. And I would say back at you, George, that for such a smart guy, and you are a smart guy, I've met a lot of politicians, you're right up there in terms of your intellect. It seems to me that you're more comfortable just going along with the Putin worldview than you are going along with the view of someone that Putin has barbarically, illegally invaded. I mean, you and I agreed about the illegal invasion of Iraq.
Hold on, what? Hold up, really quick. Hold on. I think that Piers was born, maybe at 11:58, maybe 11:59 p.m. yesterday. Does he know that the world view of Putin until a couple of years ago was horrible, and that was specifically because of the propaganda push by the empire? So for him to be like, it's funny that you're more comfortable going with the world view of da-da-da. Bro, hold up, Piers. Bro, you are the king of being comfortable with going with the world view of whoever. When you perceive that the world view of Israel's response to Hamas and Palestine and Gaza was proportionate and justified, you thought that was the world view. And I know he presents all these reasons as why he changed his mind, but let's be honest. Piers changed his mind because he realized really quickly the world view is changing, and I have a show I have to keep up with. And people only watch whenever people come on my show and hand me my ass on this issue of Palestine, because they don't want to hear my analysis about it because it sucks. Piers always goes with the worldview. But the truth is, the worldview of Putin for a very long time was negative. That is part of the reason why, for example, the ruble has never been valued to the degree that it should be valued, despite being backed by gold, despite it not being fictitious money like the United States, like USD. Right? Despite them having oil and natural gas and those type of resources, physical, tangible resources, despite actually having a balanced budget. It's because of the worldview of Russia that was pushed because of people like Piers. People only began to change their view of Putin because y'all dumbasses decided we're going to give people the opportunity to decide. You're going to stand with Putin or you're going to stand with the Nazis? Well, I guess I must stand with Putin. Hey, what? Those are my options? There's Putin and Nazis? I think I'm gonna go with the guy who's who wants to denazify. I think I'm gonna go with the guy who's not a Nazi from the country known for fighting against Nazis. And then people started doing their own research, and then that interview probably with Tucker Carlson helped a little bit. Y'all caused people to do their own research on Putin, and that changed the worldview. But George's view on Putin hasn't been altered. It hasn't changed. He's always relied on the facts. He's always been aware of U.S. imperialism and U.S. propaganda that's been pushed to sway the view, corrupt the view of Putin as a world leader, right? He's always been consciously cognizant of that. But to say that he's going along with the worldview, no, this is the same stance that George has had. George has been talking about the coup in Ukraine. I've been on his show several times. Okay, I know. I've been on his show several times. We've discussed it, so I know he's been discussing it. It's just the way Piers more. I hate his interviewing style because there are people I disagree with. Like I'd rather just like I said, I'd rather listen to an interview with Candace, interviewing someone on the left while she clearly presents herself as a conservative, because at least I know that your disagreements are genuine, right? At least I know that. But when you pretend to be an ally in ways that Piers Morgan tries to pretend to be an ally for the he pretends he fights for the average, for the working man, for the average people, for the people who don't have a voice. He pretends to be an ally. Then you get this shit. You get disingenuous disagreements. And you get Piers framing things in a way that isn't true, and also he knows isn't true. And he just keeps cutting people off until, there's no time left. That's kind of what he does. So, thank you very much for the super chat. Eric, Piers Morgan needs to get embarrassed once in a while on his show so he can come in. Bro, you know what's funny, Eric? I literally said that. I think Piers Morgan likes it. I feel like he's a masochist. I feel like he gets excited at the idea of getting thoroughly embarrassed. Because there are some people he invites on to embarrass him more than once. After he gets owned by somebody, he's like, hey, man, so you got any plans on Friday around 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. London time? Because I'm free if you are. So we can maybe go for round 2. Like, that's how I feel. Sparky, everything negative you've heard about Putin in the last 25 years, including poisoning hoaxers. Excuse me, guys. Poisoning hoaxes is a product of Western propaganda and the Five Eyes. The Five Eyes referring to the intelligence communities, people. Putin is actually a reasonable and righteous man. Hell yeah, he's reasonable, because he could have just... I don't know why people are under this impression that he couldn't just wipe Ukraine off the face of the fucking planet. Russia's army is like that. Like, they are like that. And people are, y'all do know, like, the Spetsnaz, the special forces of Russia, are considered the most elite fighting force in the world. In the world. Because whatever you think about the Navy SEALs, they not doing that shit in -30. That I can guarantee you. All right? He has been as reserved and as measured and as judicious as he could possibly be, given that not just the United States, but all of NATO and the West have just been pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. He better than me. You don't get to push me that many times. But he understands that he doesn't view lives laws as a data set. He doesn't view live laws as a number. He actually values life, which is why he does everything in his power to prevent escalation. But at a certain point, he gotta defend his people, because it's his people that were being bombed through the violation of the Minsk agreement. He gotta defend them at some point, or else Russians that have all this confidence in him are going to view him as being weak. And also, it's just a moral obligation. And it's a patriotic obligation for his country. But you are correct. Appreciate the super chat. Let's go back. Let's get back to it.
Iraq. We thought it was completely wrong, right, that America and the UK and the other allied forces invaded Iraq as retribution for something they had nothing to do with. And it turned out to be a total disaster that spawned...
And we both got sacked.
And we both got sacked, right? And we agreed about that, which is why I'm really struck by the fact that we disagree so vehemently about what seems to me a very similar situation.
No, but because you got to know the history. You should know it.
I do know the history.
Not close.
Russia has been invaded.
Hold up.
Twice.
Did you just compare Iraq to Ukraine? It's like we're both pissed about the fact that Iraq got invaded for something that had nothing to do with. Ukraine violated the Minsk agreement that they made with Russia that, one, it was, hey, don't kill Russians. So you would figure that would be easy to respect. But hey, when your country's ran by neo-Nazis, is what it is, right? I guess it's a little bit more difficult than they thought. But two, don't try and join NATO, because you're not about to put my adversary's weapons near my border, because they already got people don't realize the DMZ is right there. The DMZ is the demilitarized zone which is at the border that separates North and South Korea. North Korea doesn't border Russia, but the only thing between North Korea and Russia is water. In other words, the demilitarized zone effectively borders Russia. Then you put all these military bases and operations in the Middle East, and people, a lot of the times, unless you look at a map lately, don't realize how close the majority of those countries in the Middle East are to Russia. They're launching points. And then to top it all off, you know this as Zelensky, the president, you know how serious I am about this shit, which is why we did the Minsk agreement. And yet you come out anyway and are like, yeah, we're going to join NATO. That's our goal. And kill Russians on top of all that, bombing the Donbass region, bombing eastern Ukraine. What do you mean? How is that close to being similar to Iraq? It has everything to do with each other.
By Napoleon and then by Hitler, using the runway of Ukraine. The idea that Russia is going to allow American missiles masquerading as NATO missiles on the soil of the place where Russia was twice invaded in the last couple of hundred years. Do you know how much of Russia?
Russia is one of the biggest
country
in the world, right? Do you know how much of it, percentage-wise, is bordered by NATO countries, including Finland, who's just come into it?
Yeah, if you put a nuclear...
Do you know how many?
If you put a nuclear...
hang on, that's a different question. That's a different question. What percentage is actually bordered by NATO countries?
See, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Let him finish the damn point. Why don't... He's trying to make a very serious point and a very relevant point, and you're like, how many countries are... Doesn't matter, first of all, because you violated your treaty. So fuck arounds and finds out. That's what happened. Doesn't even let him finish talking, bro.
Countries. Well, you've got the
including
Baltic
Finland.
States, and if you had Ukraine...
Do you know the answer?
No.
Right, have a guess.
10, 15?
10%.
Yeah.
10%, a tiny percentage
what
of Russia's border.
What it means is...
What does that have to do with... I'm confused. What does that have to do with Zelensky and Ukraine violating the Minsk agreement? He's like, how many countries? No. Yeah, first of all, there are countries that also recently joined, but the reality is those countries don't have necessarily an antagonistic or adversarial relationship with Russia. A lot of them don't, right? They might not be best of friends, but they don't have a history of beef with each other. Also, those countries like Finland isn't bombing Russians because that's what was happening in Ukraine. But two, they didn't have an agreement explicitly saying you motherfuckers specifically can't join NATO, especially after the United States, which is effectively, NATO, that is NATO. I mean, if we're being honest, everybody was just kind of like on the train. The United States overthrew your government to put somebody in power that will want to join NATO so that they can conduct military operations there and have another launching point in case they have to go to war with Russia. Like, Ukraine is not Finland. And also, Ukraine's treaty with Russia has zero to do with Finland joining NATO. But I will say, NATO is stupid. If you were really trying to protect Ukraine, don't piss off Russia by granting accession to other countries that are bordering or nearly bordering Russia. Because we all remember, what is the point of Russia, or NATO, excuse me. The reason NATO was created was to destroy Russia. That is its only goal. It is a reason for its existence. And the one thing I asked of you was don't bomb Russians, don't violate the treaty. And you did both. So I don't know why he asked that question.
A missile takes two.
NATO is not.
A missile takes less than 2 minutes.
NATO is a defensive organization.
Tell that to the birds. Tell that to the people of Libya.
Why do you think so many of the former countries in the Soviet Union are racing to want to be part of it? Because they are fearful not of NATO attacking them, but of Russia attacking them.
No.
NATO is a defensive country. Y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if y'all know this, but like I said, NATO was created to destroy the Soviet Union. We all know that. After World War II, did Russia invade Vietnam? I don't think so. Okay. Did Russia invade Korea? Because y'all remember, Soviet Union was right there. Soviet Union didn't invade Korea. Did Soviet Union help participate, fund, and militarize the apartheid in South Africa? Nope, that was the United States, NATO country. Hell, did they conduct multiple operations in the Caribbean to overthrow multiple governments? Did the Soviet Union? I don't think so. Didn't happen. There is literally no example in the history of Stalin and post-Stalin Soviet Union attempting to colonize a country in the global south. Did y'all know that? Not a single example in history. So how the hell is Piers Morgan going to sit here and lie to my damn face and lie to Gorgeous George over here and lie to his audience and be like, NATO's defensive. They're defensive because we know that organizations created by the United States are always defensive countries. What do you mean? Defensive against who? The Soviet Union was the only superpower that didn't try to expand after World War II. They wanted their countries back, which is like, that's their, they lost the most trying to beat the Nazis that the United States helped to create. So I think that honoring the Yalta Agreement was the least you could do, right? But the United States refused to honor the Yalta Agreement, then started NATO. So you refused to honor the agreement with a country that basically helped to defeat the Nazis. Then you started NATO despite the fact that Stalin had given you zero reason to do so. And then y'all killed NATO, y'all killed Stalin, but that's a different conversation for a different day. They're like, bro, just be lying. Well, we ain't gonna allow that. We're gonna tell the history. We're gonna tell the whole truth here.
Look, like he did in Grozny, like he did in Georgia, like he did in Crimea, like he's now done in Ukraine. Why do you keep trusting this guy?
Is it important to stick to the facts? The facts are these. Russia was promised, got the
including
Baltic
Finland.
States, and if you had Ukraine...
Did you know the answer?
No.
Right, have a guess.
10, 15?
10%.
Yeah.
10%, a tiny percentage
what
of
does
Russia's
that mean?
border.
What
it means is
a missile takes
NATO is not.
A missile takes less than 2 minutes.
NATO is a defensive organization.
Tell that to the birds. Tell that to the people of Libya.
Why
Tell
do you think so many? Why do you think so many of the?
Notice how he ignored that Libya and Yugoslavia point. Notice how he ignored that, y'all.
Former countries in the Soviet Union are racing to want to be part of it because they are fearful not of NATO attacking them, but of Russia attacking them.
No, look,
like he did in Grozny, like he did in Georgia, like he did in Crimea.
He didn't attack Crimea. And this is what this is what I be talking about. Remember what I said at the beginning of this interview? Remember when he made that point about Ukraine voting for independence? I'm gonna show y'all something real quick, just because some of y'all might not have known this. I need y'all to see this. Y'all remember whenever they were like trying to pretend back in the day, I believe it was 2014, that Russia was invading Crimea, trying to force them back into Russia, that Crimea wanted nothing to do with Russia, and that NATO had to they wanted NATO to get involved. Yeah, nah, that's not what happened. Here's what actually happened. This is from BBC March 16, 2014. Crimea referendum, voters back Russian Union. Some 95.5% of voters in Crimea have supported joining Russia, officials say, after half of the votes have been counted in a disputed referendum. How the hell do you dispute 95.5%? Crimea's leaders say he will apply to Russia on Monday. Russian Vladimir Putin has said he will respect the Crimean people's wishes. Many Crimeans loyal to Kiev boycotted the referendum, and the EU and the US condemned it as illegal. Yeah, huh? That's so crazy, because I distinctively remember Piers saying not even 2 seconds ago, we got to respect Ukraine's independence because they voted for the independence from Russia. Crimea voted to join Russia again, to rejoin, because they were part of Russia before. And all of a sudden, he's like, nah, Crimea wanting to be part of Russia is just Russian imperialism, even though they literally voted for it. 95.5%, and that was when half the votes were counted. If I'm not mistaken, it ended up being 97%. But Russia invaded Crimea. No, what they were doing was protecting Crimea from Ukraine, trying to bomb them into oblivion for having the audacity to exercise their right to vote and choose which country they would have liked to be a part of. But hey, we're going to let him cook. I guess Piers.
He's now done in Ukraine. Why do you keep trusting this guy?
Is it important to stick to the facts? The facts are these. Russia was promised, Gorbachev was promised by the United States, by James Baker, the Secretary of State, to George Bush I.
Speak on it.
If the Red Army left Eastern Germany, NATO would not expand 1 inch to the east of Germany.
Speak on it.
They have expanded thousands of kilometers to the east of Germany.
Speak on it.
They now have nuclear missiles.
Speak on it.
Within 2 minutes of hitting St. Petersburg.
You're not answering my question. Why have these former countries, part of the old Russian Empire?
No. You just gonna ignore that, Piers? NATO literally said they're going to do one thing. He's like, you're like, I don't understand why Russia's reacting this way. Because that was the whole premise, is that Russia's reaction is an overreaction and it is disproportionate and illegal, quote unquote, which is not. He gives you the answer with historic context that Piers has yet to even try to deny, and you're like, well, tell me why all these former Soviet Union countries are rushing to join NATO. Well, hold on. So is it Wait, so you're defending NATO because they're defensive, or because you hate the Soviet Union, or because you don't like Putin, or because the invasion was illegal, or because Crimea never deserved the right to vote to join Russia, therefore they deserve to be attacked by, or because, like, what? This man can't, bro, I got ADHD. I don't know if Piers got ADHD or ADHD dumbass, because he can't follow through on a single thought that he starts without trying to move to the next thought, because he's realizing, shit, man, I'm getting my ass handed to me. Let me go ahead and switch this subject up. Why is this important?
Why have they been so keen to join an alliance which is a defensive alliance? It's not because they want to be aggressive.
Once again, he keeps saying defensive alliance, and he's demanding that George answers his questions, but he hasn't. He's like, okay, so what about Libya? Okay, so what about Yugoslavia? Okay, so what about the violations of the Minsk agreement? Okay, so what about the expansion that was never supposed to happen? How do you keep saying it's defensive? Why haven't you answered George's questions yet?
Aggressive to Russia. It's because they want to be defended when Russia almost inevitably attacks them.
If they're defensive, why did they bombard Belgrade for 90 days? If they're defensive, why are there ships sailing in the South China Sea as far away from the North Atlantic as it's possible for a NATO warship to be?
Why are there Russian airplanes?
Hold on, bro. So why aren't you answering the question? Why aren't you answering the question? Piers, can you answer one of George's questions? Just one, to let us know that you're actually interviewing somebody and that there is somebody talking to you in the form of an interrogative statement. Can you pretend that you're interviewing somebody, that there's actually somebody across the table from you, and answer the question? Just once. Jesus Christ.
Flying over Europe.
Actually, there are virtually no Russian airplanes.
Virtually no, that's comforting.
Virtually none.
That's comforting. How many are there?
But I'll tell you something.
How many are there?
Well, a lot fewer than there are American
you get
planes
my point, George.
ringed around Russia and China.
But George,
because
why are you so keen
because America
to take the Putin worldview?
No, I'm keen that Russia should not be broken up into Balkan states.
Who's going to do that?
That's the avowed intention.
But no one's attacking
the Rand report.
No one's
of
attacking
the think
Russia.
Tanks. Well, you say they're not attacking Russia.
He said, who would do that? Who would balkanize? Y'all, this is an interview about Ukraine, right? Y'all do know Ukraine was part of Russia. Okay. This is an interview about Ukraine and how they've been and really forced to some degree, in some ways, by NATO to antagonize Russia, that was formerly the Soviet Union. In an interview about NATO, Ukraine, and Russia that was the Soviet Union, he's like, who wants to balkanize Russia? Where did you get that idea from? For those of you who are not understanding the joke, NATO wanted to balkanize Russia. NATO balkanized Russia. That was the point of NATO. NATO, that's what they want to do. That was the goal. They wanted to balkanize the Soviet Union, and they unfortunately were successful. What the? He really just go ahead, man. Whatever. You know what? Whatever.
No,
Crimea was yesterday shelled by an ATACMS missile programmed by the United States.
Crimea belongs to Ukraine.
It doesn't belong to Ukraine. You talk
about
people voting.
It was stolen in 2014 by Vladimir Putin.
Well, does voting...
This man really just said Crimea belongs to Ukraine, y'all. And also, Crimea y'all. Holy shit. Piers just said, this interview was from, yesterday? It was less than 24 hours, 25 hours ago. He just said, Crimea belongs to Ukraine. They just launched rockets at a Crimean beach. Ukraine, using an American drone to guide the missiles in an American missile system, just bombed Crimea, killing multiple people and injuring over 150. So you bombed your own country? And then one of the leaders of Ukraine literally said there's no such thing as civilians in Crimea. There are only civilian occupiers. In other words, they're free game. Like he was getting his talking points from Netanyahu. This man has no self-awareness.
Mean anything or not?
Well, you think the vote after they stole it matters? You think it has
the referendum that was held in Crimea, as any fool would have known the result would be, was at least 90% for rejoining Russia, rejoining being the operative word. The Crimea was an autonomous part of Ukraine during the Soviet era. The people of Crimea, like the people of Eastern Ukraine now, it wouldn't have been if there hadn't been a war, if there hadn't been an invasion, if there hadn't been a coup. Most people were content to live in an independent Ukraine, whether they were Russian people or Ukrainian people. And it's an important dichotomy that a third of them are Russian. They would have been happy to live under a democratic government in Kiev, but that's not what we have. First of all, his term has run out, but secondly, the overthrow of the legitimate government in 2014 led to a war of attrition against the people in Eastern Ukraine, which turned the people more and more to the point of view that as Russian-speaking people, they're better off with Russia. We should have implemented the accords that France and Germany guaranteed and the Security Council subsequently adopted that would have guaranteed Ukrainian neutrality. There's nothing unusual about that. If Mexico or Canada decided to join a Chinese-Russian military bloc, America would never accept it. Neither will Russia accept.
Ukraine is now part of Ukraine is part of Europe. It's not part of Russia. It's not owned by Russia anymore.
What? Hold up.
The truth is, Vladimir Putin.
What? Ukraine is part of a continent of Europe. Okay. People just be saying shit. It's like, somebody, hey man, so like, what time is it, bro? I don't know, man, but like, I don't understand why my girl cheated on me, bro. I treated her right. Like, I can't put my finger on why she would do me that way. And even besides that, like, I thought I was doing well in school. How I got on academic probation is beyond me, to be real. Like this, somebody asks him a question or makes a statement and he just be saying shit. You're like, yeah, man, you know, if Mexico that borders the United States, if Russia tried to weaponize them and enroll them in Russia, like, you know, US wouldn't have it. Ukraine's part of Europe. Okay, thank you for the random fucking well-known fact of the day that we already acknowledged. What are you talking about? That's the point. Ukraine, part of Europe. Okay, cool. Russia's not. Russia doesn't want an enemy bordering their nation. You get the point? Mexico is Mexico. The United States is the United States. Mexico does not belong to the United States. So if Russia tried to enroll them in some type of military partnership and started giving them weapons and overthrowing the government to make sure that they belong to Russia, the United States wouldn't have it. Because technically speaking, they're not part of the United States. They're bordering the United States. Do you understand the analogy, Piers? You fucking dumbass. Holy shit.
Wants to take back a lot of the stuff that he believes was wrongly broken up when the Soviet Union was dismantled.
I don't believe that is true.
Well, I know you don't, but I'm curious why you constantly take it. He's even said that.
Russia is a European country. Moscow is the biggest city in Europe. It would have been far better for us to have accepted not just Russia, but Putin's own olive branches. He asked for Russia to join NATO.
Why would you? Here's the thing, George. Why do you trust Vladimir Putin?
Well, I trust him more than I trust Keir Starmer.
Oh, really? You trust Vladimir Putin?
I trust him more
than Keir Starmer.
I trust him more than I trust Joe Biden. I trust him more than I trust Donald Trump.
Hang on.
Hold on, let me finish the statement.
I can't really get past Starmer. You would trust Vladimir Putin more than Keir Starmer.
I wouldn't trust any of them if they told me what day it was today without checking.
It's true. I always say that. I was like, literally, if Biden or these motherfuckers are like, yeah, man, the sky's blue, I'm like, oh shit. It's certainly purple or brown because there ain't no way in hell Biden's telling the truth. That's literally how I feel about him.
I don't trust automatically any politician. I check the facts. We lived through an era and were sacked because of the result of it, in which we were told certain things by our own leaders that turned out to be blatant lies.
Right, and here's my point, George. This is my point, is that you seem to have bought in to Putin's whole justification.
He keeps saying, no. Is he? Are they talking? Because you would almost think that this motherfucking interview was delayed or virtual or there was some lag. Aren't they sitting in the same room? He's like, you seem to have bought in. He literally said, I don't trust any politician on his face. I just trust the facts presented to me. But I don't get George's. How you just bought in to Putin? There's no way this guy's, oh my God.
As Farage has. He was provoked. He had no option.
There is no doubt.
To which I say bullshit. Right? This is a guy who proved in Grozny, who proved in Crimea, who proved in Georgia, and has proved again in Ukraine. He will attack where he smells weakness. And
I don't think that is true, but if it were to be true, then you'd find me on the same side of the argument.
But do you not think the invasion was an illegal invasion?
Yes, of course. Invading anyone's...
How can you justify it?
Well, for the same reason, I justified Vietnam's invasion of Cambodia I
actually don't believe that the invasion was illegal. Wow, that's actually kind of surprising. I'm surprised me and George disagree on something. That's very rare. I don't agree with it because it isn't an invasion when you violated the agreement that you had to stay away from NATO and to not bomb, Russians. But when it is a defensive measure, you get what I'm saying? Like, it isn't illegal whenever you're bombing Russians, you're bombing Crimea, you're bombing the Donbass region, and then you're threatening to join the organization that is dedicated to the demise of my country. That is a defensive measure at that point. I think that all of us would agree. What am I going to do? Just let NATO set up shop and blow me to pieces? Yeah, okay, no. I would not want to do that. So I disagree with that frame. I don't believe that it's an illegal invasion.
To stop the tyranny of Pol Pot. But
you're likening Zelensky to Pol Pot.
I am actually.
You can't be serious.
I am. For the thousands of children, women who were killed by Ukraine's regime before Zelensky and after Zelensky, I think that the tyranny, the killing fields of the Donbass were as gruesome.
The killing fields of the Donbass have been perpetrated by Vladimir Putin.
No. The killing fields of the Donbass were from 2014 to Putin's invasion.
Do you think it's to stop the invasion?
I'm old enough to remember Tanzania invading Uganda to bring about the overthrow of big Idi Amin. It is not always the case that an intervention by a neighbor is a negative thing. And in the case of...
It's not an intervention. You just called it yourself an illegal invasion. But you said illegal.
It wasn't a legal invasion.
I mean, technically speaking, you can consider it to be an illegal invasion on the basis of an intervention. Like, it's not, those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
Can you justify it?
I don't know why he's arguing so much.
And the justification for it from the Russian-speaking Ukrainian point of view was to save them from massacre.
It's bullshit.
Well, they were being massacred. You just didn't notice it. No, you just didn't.
The massacring has been perpetrated by Putin on Ukrainian people.
Massacring and massacred are two different things. First of all, also there's a war going on right now, so there's that. The massacred, in other words, in the past, no pasado, it happened in the past. We call that cause and effect in the 4th grade. That's what, at least was what I learned. It's called cause and effect. He's like, Putin's massacring right now. And then he like just ignores the fact that he's like, no, he definitely was massacring. No, that didn't happen. That's happening now with Putin. He just ignores the fact that people have been getting slaughtered by the Ukrainians, by specifically Western Ukrainians. It's so... Oh, Jesus.
And by the way, on his own people.
There's plenty of killing in Ukraine now.
Let me pick you up on one thing you said, which I want to clarify. This is what you said about the Bucha massacre. I've been to Bucha, so I want to play this clip.
So I don't believe that Bucha was a war crime. I believe it belongs in the long line of false flag operations used to trigger war.
False flag?
Absolutely. It was a massacre carried out.
Have you been there?
No, it was a.
Have you spoken to the people?
How could I go there? I'd be killed if I went.
I have been there.
I'd be killed.
I've been to the site of that
because you're his friend. It's because you're shilling for him.
I'm not his friend.
Zelensky would have me killed if I went there. I am absolutely certain
not hyperbole about
that the people who were massacred at Bucha were massacred by the Nazis that are the foundation stone of the existing Ukrainian state. The Azov Nazis were the people who carried out the Bucha massacre.
This is complete insanity.
How is it?
I don't even believe you think that.
I absolutely think it.
Why are you saying something like that?
Because I believe it.
But I've been there. I've literally interviewed the families of the people who were massacred.
You weren't
They were massacred by the Russian.
Like they saw the 40 beheaded babies. You mean like those? Was it something like that? Piers, that video that everybody's seen, that nobody's actually seen? Like when they interview they interview hostages for real, and they were like, oh, those interviews, those are fake. We're gonna try again. And then they really interview the hostages after the lip injections and the payoffs and the threats from the government, like those type of interviews. Piers, okay, all right.
You weren't there when it happened.
I've spoken to the people who saw the Russian forces.
Well, I've also
raping and murdering their families.
Well, now we're back to you always drag out this rape thing.
Yeah, because you know what? It happens a lot.
I haven't seen any reports of rape at Bucha.
Really?
So
why don't you go and check it out?
Well, I will. But
presumably you think it would be the Ukraine.
By the way, that isn't actually like a popular narrative. I don't know why he's even focused on it. That's just weird. I don't know.
Ukrainian Nazis who did it.
Well, they've certainly raped people before.
Right. So they're capable, but the Russian forces are.
Are you denying that there are Nazis in Ukraine?
I read a whole report about this. There is a tiny, tiny number of people associated themselves with the Nazi ideology.
The statues, the bandera.
Tiny.
It's a statue, motherfucker.
By the way,
it's a tiny, tiny number of people that make up an entire battalion. But hey, it's only a tiny number of people. It's only a tiny number of Nazis, guys. It's okay. That's different. I mean, it just so happens to be like, that percentage of Nazis actually has enough military power and influence to persuade the government to kill ethnic Russians. But other than that, it's only a tiny percentage of Nazis. What's the big deal?
Wait, there are Nazis here. There are Nazis in Germany.
Yeah, but we don't have streets
in America.
We don't call streets after them.
No, but
we don't build monuments to them.
But George,
we don't call universities after them.
You cannot,
there's a cult of Nazism.
There's also a cult of supporting people like Putin when they perpetrate atrocities like Bucha, right? And you seem to think that somehow in your head he didn't do that.
You said that there are a tiny number of Nazis in Ukraine. Then why is the main street in Kiev called after Bandera? Why is Bandera and his Nazi collaborating gang proliferating statues, street names, institutions being called after them? Why do they carry Nazi flags and insignia?
I can tell you,
tattoos.
There is a tiny percentage of Nazis.
Oh my God!
Ukraine.
Hold on.
Tiny.
Are you? Wow! Hold on. Piers actually answered a question? Wow. He actually finally answered a question. Now he's got like 45 more to respond to, but he finally, when it was time to defend the Nazism in Ukraine, that's when he decided to answer the question. I ain't gonna lie, Piers, that ain't a good look, bro. That's not a good look. I was like you could have answered a lot of questions. Maybe you should let that one slide. All the other questions you chose to ignore, and you're like, let me defend the Nazi statues in Ukraine.
No, you can say that.
Yes.
Yeah?
Because I've spoken to people who know.
And I have spoken to people who know.
Right. But you think this massacre that I witnessed the scene of this massacre with my own eyes. Yeah. I talked to the people who'd lost their loved ones, who had appalling things done to them. It was done by Russian invading forces.
I believe that Bucha, in all the circumstances, is a false flag of the kind with which we are really familiar. That you commit an atrocity and you blame it in order to manufacture consent for what comes next. You blame it on the bogeyman.
So you think the Ukraine was behind the Russian forces advancing through to that area, and then they stopped because they blew up the bridge?
These people were murdered.
You think they did all this?
These people were murdered because they were Russian collaborators.
They were murdered by Russia.
They were well,
Vladimir Putin.
They were murdered. So the Russian collaborators were murdered by Russians. Okay.
Forces,
we can,
hundreds and hundreds of people.
We can, in Bucha.
Yes.
How many hundreds were killed?
I don't know the exact number.
That's funny because you've been there and you've read a report.
I think it was 400.
I've seen.
Gorgeous George with the haymaker
of the slaughtered people who were all wearing
you read the report,
the
458.
They were. You've got somebody speaking in your ear.
Because I said I thought it was about 400. It turns out it was 458.
The people that I saw on television were wearing armbands which identified them as Russian collaborators, people who'd taken the soup from the then occupying Russian forces. We're not going to get anywhere batting this one around. My stance is this. The Russian-speaking people in Ukraine decided they wanted out of Ukraine. They have a right to self-determination. The coup and the massacres that ensued after it in 2014, the abolition of their language, the criminalization of their culture,
and the parties
led them to conclude that they no longer wanted to be part of that kind of Ukraine. It would be far better if we now negotiate. And as Macron said,
all right, what would you do? What would you do?
Let's participate.
We're going to stop there. Definitely go check out the rest of that. Y'all go, like I said, man, George, who, by the way, shout out to George. He's always showing love, man, on Twitter. Invite me on the show. I really appreciate it. Back in the day when I was just a young chap coming up, George was always showing me love, always, promoting my show and, promoting my show to his UK audience and stuff like that. Hey, all the love in the world for George. And like I said, boy, he handed it to him. He's so polite, man. I wish I had George's accent because when George talks, everything just sounds smart and witty as hell. He can say the most basic thing ever, but for whatever reason, he's Scottish, right? I believe he's Scottish. His Scottish, British, or Scottish English mix with his like swag just makes everything George says sound super important and smooth. I wish that I had his accent, but we're just gonna have to go with what I got. I'm okay with it. But shout out to George, man. He roasted him. He roasted him in an interview. And also Piers, bro, like, who's paying him? Who thought like, yo, man, let's go ahead and give Piers Morgan a studio and enough time to talk that he will embarrass himself every 30 seconds. Who's sponsoring this show? I want to know who's watching the show because they actually think I would say Smears Morgan, but basically that's kind of what he is, right? Smears Morgan. But who actually thinks that Piers Morgan is a smart person? I thought British people were supposed to be like super intelligent. Going with the stereotype here. Y'all got free education and shit. Free college, thought y'all were supposed to be smart. Who's out here paying monthly subscription somewhere to watch Piers Morgan be a political masochist? Just out of curiosity. We're going to check out some of these super chats real quick. And we're going to get through the last couple of topics really fast. I know y'all are just as excited to watch the debate as I am. I'm not really all that excited, guys. I'm watching it so that y'all don't got to and because it's my job. That's one of them, it's one of them like, just bring your lunch pail and go to work type days. Like that's because we don't even have a democracy. So I don't know why we're having a debate. Whatever. Eric Huzo, I missed the war on Christmas. Bring back Bill O'Reilly. That's a war I can get behind. Oh man, that was another crazy one. That boy was crazy. Bill O'Reilly was nuts. Sparky, I'll tell you why your girl cheated on you, Niko. Positive was exercising white. Yeah, man. If y'all don't know, he's talking about the joke I made earlier about Piers just going off on tangents that have nothing to do with nothing. But nah, man. Positive white privilege might get him a lot of benefits in a lot of countries, but Nah, my girl likes chocolate. You know what I'm saying? So he don't really got much of an opportunity here. Plus, he can't speak my wife's language. So, but hey, I don't know, man. Pa's a smooth operator though. I can't even cap. It don't matter if Paz can speak your language. The first time we were all in Brazil together in Sao Paulo, this man, in the most whitest way possible, bom dia, tudo bem, like, just obnoxious and shit, but being genuine, because Paz always tries to learn the languages of the places that he's going to, because he actually does care and is interested in culture. And this man's just spitting game. I hope you're okay with me telling y'all this, but we were all at a friend's wedding, and why did I leave? I left, but I think it was because I had something to do the next day. I thought I had a flight to catch the next day, but I ended up changing it anyway and staying forever, and now I live here anyway. But no seriousness, I left, and there wasn't that much time left in the reception. Pasta actually arrived late because he was out doing reporting on the election in Sao Paulo, or excuse me, in Brazil, for Lula and Bolsonaro. Shows up late, man. And next thing I know, I'm getting text messages like, this man Pasta done pulled one of my wife's aunts or something like that. I'm like, bro, what do you mean? I've been gone for 30 minutes. How did Pasta show up not speaking a language, okay, because he doesn't speak Portuguese, and he pulled the aunt of somebody who doesn't speak English? Yeah, Pasta's that guy, man. Shout out to Pasta. Thoughts on Macron's wife is a dude. Oh, I've heard that conspiracy theory. I don't know. The whole Macron wife situation is not something I'm gonna get into right now because it is a lot. But if y'all like the cougar aspect of it is weird enough. So, but just the history or lack thereof of Macron's wife before she became Macron's wife is also weird. Y'all should look into that. Y'all should. So the SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, they have decided that the Biden administration can force anybody to do what the hell they want to when it comes to social media and removing information that they deem to be inconvenient, or what they like to refer to as harmful. For those of you who do not know, there was a federal court case that actually said that the Biden administration cannot apply pressure to social media companies to pull information and to ban content creators. And it got up to the SCOTUS, and they decided to overturn to overturn a federal court case is a huge deal. Only like 7% of all cases that apply to for appeals even get heard. So that's like a big deal to even get to the point where it got appealed to the Supreme Court, in case y'all didn't know. If something is overturned, like a federal court case is overturned, and something as grandiose as this, there is a whole host of reasons as to, and it's usually very explicit as to why it was overturned. In this particular case, which we're going to get into in this Reuters article, it was overturned because of some procedural bullshit. Like, it should have been knocked back down, and then maybe they should have presented it again and demonstrated that they have the standing. But literally, it got overturned because the Supreme Court decided that at the before it even got to the Supreme Court, and really before they got to the federal court that made the ruling, they didn't have any standing, and therefore they're overturning a case that could have implications and set precedents in a massive way going forward in the middle of a presidential election. It's unheard of. It's like, y'all know I was a legal assistant in the military, right? I was going to go to school, be a lawyer. For those of you who don't know, I'm 1/3 of the founders of the DNC fraud lawsuit. This is something that I'm familiar with. I'm not an expert. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I'm familiar enough because of my interest and my experience that I know this type of shit don't happen. Overturning the requirements, the burden of overturning a federal court case is so high that it almost never happens. And doing so because of some procedural bullshit is insane. That never happens. So let's get into this article from in Reuters, because dog, it's just really coincidental to me that this case, it's like the DNC fraud lawsuit. For those of you who don't remember, the DNC fraud lawsuit was basically being held up, and we weren't getting responses because we got to the Supreme Court, right? So we weren't getting responses, and what ends up happening is right as Biden wins the nomination, and we're suing for $900 million. In case y'all didn't know, it's class action. We were suing. We get to the Supreme Court. We're waiting for a response. Biden gets the nomination. And guess who gets to decide whether our case has standing to be heard and voted on by the Supreme Court? Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, guys. Yeah, the guy who effectively only was able to keep to be elected to his position at Supreme Court was because of Joe Biden and him smearing Anita Baker? No, not Anita Baker. What was her name? It was Anita something. But basically smearing the woman that Clarence Thomas sexually assaulted to protect Clarence Thomas and allow him to be elevated to the Supreme Court. So we hear nothing. And the case was ironically, was almost the same thing, because we were being told that we didn't have standing. We didn't have, it was a jurisdictional issue, some bullshit, procedural shit, right? And it takes forever for us to hear back. And when we finally get to hear back, it was after Biden wins the primary, and it just so happens to be heard by the one Republican who would, of course, not betray Joe Biden. So when people tell you that politics don't play a role in Supreme Court judgments, it does. And it ain't the type of politics where it's like Democrat versus Republican like people like to think it is, because we're going to find that out in this case too. What it is there are favors for favors. You don't get put on the Supreme Court. Hell, a lot of the times you don't get made a federal judge or a U.S. attorney unless you have played ball, made the right connections, and have shown that when the time comes, you are willing to play the game. Anita Hill. Thank you very much, guys. It was Anita Hill. Let's check out this article. U.S. Supreme Court will not, matter of fact, let me zoom in for y'all, for my fellow blind people. The U.S. Supreme Court will not curb the Biden administration's social media contacts. June 26th, the Supreme Court declined on Wednesday to impose limits on the way President Joe Biden's administration may communicate with social media platforms, rejecting a challenge made on free speech grounds to how officials encourage the removal of posts deemed misinformation, including about elections and COVID. By the way, all those posts that were removed and all those people that were removed, they ended up being right. So, yeah, there's that problem. The justices, in a 6-3 ruling, overturned a lower court's 2023 decision that various federal officials likely violated the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment, which protects against governmental abridgment of free speech, in a case brought by the states of Missouri and Louisiana, as well as 5 individuals. In other words, the U.S. government cannot get involved in violating free speech. If it was just the platform deciding, unfortunately, that's one thing. Shouldn't be, but they're still protected under Section 230. But when it's like with Louisiana trying to force every student to recite the 10 Commandments, that's going to get overturned. I already can tell you that shit's happening. But whenever you force the students to read the 10 Commandments, that is directly in conflict with separation of church and state. If it was a school that decided to mandate it on its own volition and you decided to send your kid there, that's different. But when the government gets directly involved, that is a violation of the Constitution. So what happened was the U.S. Supreme Court just overturned something that was deemed unconstitutional. And the reason why makes no goddamn sense. So also, y'all see this? This is 6-3. Don't y'all find that number a little bit precarious or precarious? Curious? And I'm precarious too, but definitely curious. Y'all don't find that number curious? Because I frequent Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I'm a social mediator. I'm a social media guy. I'm a Twitterer. I'm a Facebooker. I'm a TikToker, Instagrammer, if you will. Okay. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember. Well, I'm old enough to have experience, young enough to remember a time where I was told over and over and over again that it's liberals and leftists who want to believe that want to censor everybody, who don't believe in free speech, freedom of expression, debate and engagement, and just overall honoring the Constitution and the First Amendment. I remember that we're told over and over and over again by certain conservatives that the reason that we have to allow conservatives, have to fight for conservatives to get power back is because at least we know that we're going to get free speech, because it's the conservatives that like free speech and the liberals who don't like it, or conservatives that like free speech and the leftists who don't like it. My memory might be fuzzy, but isn't the Supreme Court conservative? Like, technically speaking, right? Because that's what the Democratic argument was, is that it was going to be conservative, and then Trump actually got not only conservative judges, but a bunch of federal conservative judges and rushed them through. Oh, excuse me, Trump didn't rush them through. The Democrats rushed them through. So, once again, why? Why do people keep thinking these parties are different? I'm just trying to understand, y'all. When are we going to catch up? I'm tired of having to have this conversation. Stop pretending like there's actually a dichotomy between the Democrats and the Republicans. It doesn't exist. There is no dichotomy between the Democrats and the Republicans. It is fake. It might be a verbal dichotomy, but it is theater, like we discussed earlier. The New Orleans-based Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals had issued an injunction constraining such contacts by the administration. But conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who authored the Supreme Court's ruling, wrote that the two Republican-led states and the other plaintiffs lacked the required legal standing to sue the administration in the federal court. The plaintiffs in 2022 sued officials and agencies across the federal government, including the White House, FBI, Surgeon General's Office, Center for Disease and Control and Prevention, and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And Barrett wrote that the plaintiffs could not show a concrete link between the conduct by the officials and any harm that the plaintiffs suffered. Y'all, first of all, that's crazy. That is insane. Like, you couldn't show a link between the conduct of the officials and any harm that the plaintiff suffered. That wasn't the argument. Like we read at the top, the argument was the federal officials likely violated the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment, which protects against governmental abridgment of free speech. It doesn't say if there was somebody concretely affected or negatively impacted. Like, that doesn't matter. The government, whether or not the government violated the Constitution, is totally separate and apart from the damage that was caused by the government violating the Constitution. If the government violated the Constitution and there was no damage caused by it, it would still be unconstitutional. If, like with our lawsuit for the DNC fraud lawsuit, one of the biggest reasons that we made sure to start the lawsuit before the election ended, a lot of people were under the impression that we filed it after the election. That was not the case. We were making the argument that the Democratic Party was cheating. I mean, that's a simplified version of it. But they were cheating not only their donors, but the Democratic Party members, but also anyone who participated in the election, but also anybody who donated to either candidate, okay, with the supposition that there was an equal chance for both candidates to win, because that was what was presented by not only that was what was said by the Democratic Party, but also that's what their charter says, the rules of the 501c4 organization that is the Democratic Party. Now, if we sued and Bernie won anyway, okay, that doesn't change what we're suing for, because there was still an attempt to steal an election. There was still being money passed from donors to political party, while the people accepting the 501c4 nonprofit organization accepting the donations were doing so under false pretenses while simultaneously violating their charter. It would not have changed if Bernie won, because the lawsuit was that y'all cheated. Not that there was damage. There was damage, but that was the lawsuit. Did you violate your charter? And you did. So you get what I'm saying? Like, but Comey Barrett's she's a puppet, in case I didn't know. That is why she was put on the Supreme Court. Conservative justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch dissented from the decision. White House Press Secretary KJP welcomed the ruling. Of course you did. Saying it helps the Biden administration continue our important work with technology companies to protect the safety and security of the American people after years of extreme and unfounded Republican attacks on public officials who engage in critical work to keep Americans safe. Are you kidding me? Yeah, of course we like it, because it allows us to keep bullying tech companies and doing what the hell we want them to do. Fauci was wrong how many times, y'all? How many times? Thanks, Sparky. Yeah, it was Anita Hill. And you're correct. The Supreme Court is stacked with a bunch of uniparty establishment stooges. Absolutely, 100%. But how many people got suspended for being right during COVID? For being right about the pharmaceutical industry? For being right about Fauci? For being right about the NIH? How many people got suspended? Got their posts taken down? How many people got suspended for accurately reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop situation? There are people who got suspended on reporting on the active court cases in electoral lawsuits that were happening in both Arizona and Georgia. And because they were reporting the facts of the situation, they were being suspended. And now the Supreme Court has now allowed them to continue to basically put pressure on social media companies, for the government to apply pressure in a way that is unconstitutional on social media companies to remove people, not because they are wrong, not because they are factually incorrect, but merely because they present an inconvenience to the narrative that the government is pushing at the time. They want to prevent journalists like myself, like Max Blumenthal, like Fiorella, like Pasta, like Sabs, like Kit from Heartlands, like Jimmy Dore. They want to prevent us from holding the government accountable and holding government officials accountable. And usually those government officials like Fauci aren't even elected by us. So we have an extra responsibility to hold them accountable, actually. But Supreme Court, they don't work for us. That's what somebody asked me. What's one of the first things you would do if you ever became president? Like if the president actually had power. I would take every single office in the executive branch that is appointed, and you will now have to run for office. You will have to run to be federal judge. You will have to run to be a U.S. attorney. You have to run to be Supreme Court justice. You will have to run to be the director of the FBI. You will have to run to be the director of the CIA, of the Department of the Department of the DI. What is it called? DOI, DI? Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You would have to run. You would have to show that you have acted within your capacity in the past and the power that you've had in the past, you have to show that you have been acting within the interest of the American people and not for the interest of whoever, big pharma, the weapons manufacturers industry, pharma, just APAC. You will have to show a record of you fighting on behalf of the American people, not on behalf of special interests. Because the reason that those offices are not elected, and a lot of them are life, and a lot of them, like the Supreme Court, for example, could be potentially lifetime appointments, is because they can avoid accountability. You can't pull them out. They said it's to prevent them from being corrupted, but no, what happens is to get to that point, you have to be corrupt effectively. You can't become a federal judge most times in big cities where major decisions are being made all the time without being corrupt. Bill Clinton in the 90s, I don't know if y'all know about this, but y'all know Bill Clinton in the 90s fired almost every single federal judge and U.S. attorney that he could not sway and replaced all of them with his own, which is why it took so long for Bill and Hillary to even be questioned, for Epstein to be found guilty, for Ghislaine Maxwell to be found guilty. There's like a list of things that actually happened after Hillary lost, because those judges were replaced finally. Those U.S. attorneys were replaced finally. So, yeah, the legal issue. The plaintiffs argued that the administration violated the rights of social media users whose posts were removed by platforms including Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, now called X. The legal issue was whether the administration crossed the line from mere communication and persuasion to strong arming or coercing platforms, sometimes called jawboning, to unlawfully censor disfavored speech, as lower courts found. So that was the legal issue. So this is vastly different and doesn't really have any bearing on the decision that Amy Coney Barrett made, which was, we couldn't find any damage that was done. So therefore, that's why we are overturning a federal court case, because we couldn't find any damage, so I didn't have standing. That's not how you determine whether or not somebody has standing. That's just crazy. I didn't even go to law school. And I know that. I was a legal assistant, but that's not how you determine whether somebody has standing. It depends on what they are suing for. The plaintiff makes a claim, and then you have a burden to prove that claim. And if they never made the claim, like we're specifically suing only because of damages, usually in the class action, you give multiple reasons, because you want to give yourself the best chance possible that you have standing for at least one of those reasons, right? If that was the only reason why, then okay, but that wasn't the only reason. It wasn't just damage, and it had nothing to do with the decision from the first federal court. Biden's administration argued that officials sought to mitigate the hazards of online misinformation, including false information about vaccines during the pandemic that they said was causing preventable deaths, by alerting social media companies to content that violated their policies. The policies that they only made because the federal government told them to do so. Bro, there's many researchers, as well as liberals and Democrats, of course, so don't forget that part, have warned of the dangers of social media platforms amplifying misinformation and disinformation about public health, vaccines, and election fraud. Many researchers, as well as liberals and Democrats. Oh my God. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill criticized the ruling, saying a majority of the Supreme Court gives a free pass to the federal government to threaten tech platforms into censorship and suppression of speech that is indisputably protected by the First Amendment. And I would agree 100%. I'm just like, bro, we don't have a democracy. Our judicial system is corrupt, even with the Julian Assange situation. Like, so people are like maybe sometimes a little bit focusing too much on the negative situation, the negatives of Julian Assange's situation. The fact that he's free and back with his family is precedent for me, supersedes everything. But also the documents that he ended up pleading guilty. The documents that he received and putting them out. However, the precedent is not as clearly an attack on, it was an attempt to be an attack on journalism, of course, but it wasn't as clearly an attack on, at least on American journalism, as a lot of people may believe it was, because everything that is alleged for Julian Assange is an allegation that is being made by a national that is not a citizen of the United States, which is how a lot of it fell under the Espionage Act, because it can look as if he is a foreigner trying to undermine the U.S. government, specifically by conducting espionage. You get what I'm saying? So like, but even with that, the fact that he had to plead guilty to get out, that disallows him from suing the federal government for being in prison for as long as he was and being forced into the Ecuadorian embassy for as long as he was. 5 years. Excuse me. It was 5 years in, 5 years in Belmar, 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy. He can't sue because technically he pled guilty, so it wasn't wrongful arrest now. And he now has to pay for the jet that they put him on for an arrest he should have never been a part of. But that's the justice system of the West, right? American disaster is 100% right. Like the American government cares if people lives or dies. It's actually the opposite. Y'all know me. I'm a firm believer that the American government is actively cheering for people to die. They prefer it. It's more convenient for them. I firmly believe that. Like it's people. Some people have two awakenings. The first awakening that a lot of people will have is, damn, man, the government really doesn't care about me, which is a lot to take in, right? It's a lot to take in because first you're like, damn, maybe they're just malcontents, right? Like maybe they're just idiots. Nah, like it's worse than that. It's beyond that. They aren't just idiots. They actually don't care about you. That's the first realization you have. But after you've been doing this long enough, you've been watching my type of shows long enough, you watch like this show, other shows like it, independent shows, shows based in facts, you learn really quickly, oh shit, nah, the government doesn't only not care about us, they are actively trying to kill us. They are trying to make sure that a certain amount of the population is no longer breathing. They prefer it. When you realize that, that is like the truth, and everything else, like what we saw during the pandemic, begins to make sense. Like, why would you do the opposite of what's healthy? Right? Because we saw that. All that stuff starts to make sense. All the stuff you see about the chemicals in our food. Hell, the chemicals in the sky, the chemicals in the water, chemicals in our products. The immunity granted to the companies that put these chemicals in our products, in our food, in our medicine. The active, like, I'm a firm believer that cancer treatment, for example, and we're going to do this Jamal Bowman thing, and we're going to get up out of here so I can watch the debate. But I'm a firm believer, for example, that chemotherapy is literally just a death sentence. And, I feel really sorry for anybody that kind of like is in a position where they have no choice but to go through it, or they feel like they have no choice. But like, the point of chemotherapy is to literally kill every nutrient in your body, because the science is that like the cancer is feeding off of these nutrients, right? So the reason why people look so drained and everything after chemo is because the radiation is killing everything, all the bad stuff in your body, so that the cancer can't feed. But the problem is you're killing the same nutrients that would help you recover. It actually makes no sense. it would be smarter to target specifically what is causing the cancer to grow, which they already did. They've already done it. It's already been cured. They already know how to cure cancer. So like, don't let them fool you. So they can do it. They know how. So it would be smart to figure out which nutrients are caused. Like you could do tests to figure out which nutrients have specifically caused your cancer growth. You can do trial and error because once you get diagnosed with it, you have to frequent the doctor anyway, right? So you have especially if you catch it early, you have time to figure out through trial and error what is causing the cancer to grow, to remain stagnant, or to be reduced. You have time to figure that out. And instead, they're like, we're actually going to throw you into radiation. I know we literally tell you, don't do it. Radiation is horrible for you. But, it's different. Yes, the government they don't care. Like here, it's not weird in Brazil. I live in Brazil. In Brazil, it's not weird for people to live to 89, 90, 92, 93 years old. I mean, live, not this kind of live where you barely can move, barely can walk, you're humped over. Like, no, I'm talking about living, going out, enjoying, going to parks, walking around, living their lives at 89, 90 years old, going to the mall. It's not uncommon. It is ridiculous. And they have, because, they have free healthcare here, but also they're not trying to kill their old people. That's the difference in their government and ours. As corrupt as officials in the Brazilian government might be, which tells you a lot, because there's a lot of corruption here. Like, don't get it twisted. There is. But what's crazy is like, damn, so you tell me you got all that corruption and yet somehow Brazil still arrived to free healthcare and it's great. You don't qualify for Medicare. But caveat, you gotta buy Medicare Part B and Part C and Part D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and the square root of pi. And like, what? They're actively trying to. So yeah, that's because the government we're living in. They're trying to kill your livelihood. They're trying to kill your rights, kill your motivation, kill your immunity, and literally kill you. That's the world we're living in, unfortunately. Really quick, last subject. Jamal Bowman, former member of the squad, got his ass handed to him in his recent primary election. Not even the regular election. He got beat in the primary election. He lost to a Zionist who, on paper, in other words, like on his website, for example, where his issues are, he didn't even post about being a Zionist. He didn't even make it a factor. Now, I'm sure in person, right? Like in person, when somebody asked about it, he could say confidently, oh yeah, I support Israel's right to defend itself. But what I'm telling y'all is, this is who Jamal Bowman got beat by. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I said earlier in the stream, he got beat by a better candidate. Because this guy actually has ran, when I say a better candidate, I don't mean like literally better because he's gonna get the Congress to do the same thing. But what I'm saying is, this is why AIPAC uplifted him. He got experience within the community. He's done things for the Westchester community, right? So there's a balance you have to maintain in Congress where you're doing stuff for your community while you're still trying to advocate for the United States. Jamal Bowman, who, by the way, was a piss poor advocate for the U.S. anyway, right? Also forgot his community. So they actually went and got somebody who has a record in his own community, and he does. I'm being honest, guys. Like, I mean, he got stuff done, and he has a focus in policy on his community, like development of free entrepreneurship and job training programs, $250 million in grants to minority and women-owned businesses, free bus rides during the summer and holiday season for all residents throughout Westchester, targeted workforce development initiatives for formerly incarcerated Like, dude, this is a platform. He actually has a platform. and AIPAC. So like Jamal Bowman forgot he was a principal. He forgot how he got elected and why he got elected. And now he found out you can't play both sides, bro. You can't play both sides and turn your back to your community until it's time to get donations and votes. Because that's, bro, for a sitting congressman to get beat in a primary while like you already endorsed Biden, like he endorsed Biden, right? You got AOC to come out for you. But I just want you to look at some of the people who endorsed his opponent. Because I know that there is the Palestine aspect of all this that we should pay attention to, obviously. Oops, wrong one. But there is also the reality that Jamal Bowman not only wasn't doing what he should have been doing for the Palestinian people, but on top of all of it, he wasn't doing what he promised he was going to do for his own people. And so whenever push came to shove and it was time to get endorsements and things like that, I want y'all to look at the endorsements that Latimer got. Because when you're talking about an area like Westchester, New York, that matters. Just the people don't matter because most of y'all don't know them. But look at this. This is, Hillary Clinton, whatever. But so New York State Senator, State Assembly member, Yonkers Mayor, White Plains Mayor, another New York area, State Assembly, Scardale, so local, another local mayor, Larchmont, local mayor, Port Chester Mayor, Westchester Board of Legislators Majority Leader, White Plains Council Resident, County Legislator. Do y'all see Deputy County Executive? Do you see the difference? Yonkers City. So I'm going to show you the difference between those and whatever the hell Bowman was trying to do. Oh, look at all these cute, flavorful colors. Justice Democrats. Our revolution. Like, that don't mean nothing to those people. The squad. Yeah, because everybody knows how popular the squad is right now. I know y'all seen that video. I know y'all seen it. Y'all let me know if y'all want me to show AOC. Y'all let me know. I might show it anyway. Like, okay, so these are redundant endorsements. Who? Cori Bush, Congresswoman. Anybody from Cori Bush's district voting for Jamal Bowman in the primary? Probably not. Ayanna, Congresswoman, like U.S. Congress. Summer Lee, Congress. Any of them voting for? Nope. Okay, that's what I thought. Hakeem Jeffries. That ain't gonna help you at all. You might have lost votes when people saw Hakeem Jeffries. At least ours, the people that would vote for him. House Democratic Caucus. So you know what this shows? Like, just from a strategic standpoint, y'all, I'm just giving you the straight. What this shows me is, oh, you work for Washington. People believe, yeah, AIPAC might have put him up as a candidate, his opponent, I'm saying. AIPAC might have put him up as a candidate, but you lost your election. I'm gonna say it again. AIPAC might have put Latimer up as a candidate, but you, Jamal Bowman, lost your election. You were waffling, wishy-washy. We didn't know where you stood on October 7th and the days after until you saw the squad, AOC, Biden, Bernie, and the whole Democratic Party getting pressed on the issue and losing votes because of it and losing in the polls because of it. Mr. Israel has a right to defend itself, which we all know is coded language for Israel has a right to genocide. unaccountably. You lost your election because all those endorsements say you work for Washington. The endorsements his opponent has says he works for Westchester. And he has a resume. So like, what you should have did from the jump, you waited too long. You thought you were safe, which is crazy that I don't know how he thought he was safe looking at this dude. Oh, I guess because he's like, man, I've been doing Apex work. I can't believe it. They're going after me like this. Right? That's probably what happened. He probably was caught off guard. He probably didn't know that he was really going to have to run until it was too late. Because the candidate they ran against him was somebody who clearly had clout. But if you could have gone in and say, look at all, you should have committed one. You should have committed. If you're going to go full APAC, then go full APAC, dumbass. Don't go half and half. You're not AOC. AOC, unfortunately, for some, that is a good question, though, that everybody, I think, probably has. Why hasn't APAC gone off the AOC to the degree that they went after Jamal Bowman? Does anybody else wonder that? They didn't go after AOC. They are, if I'm not mistaken, going after Rashida Tlaib. I don't think they're going to win because of the district that she's in is like largely Arab, but they did not go after AOC, and she's down the street from Jamal Bowman. And what it's weirder about them not going after AOC, everybody, is the fact that AOC, everybody knows her for her district being the Bronx, but her district is firmly based in Queens also. And Queens is full of Zionists. One of the reasons that she capitulates so much to Zionists is because of how I almost spoke Portuguese, but it's how full of Zionists Queens is. Like, that's one of the reasons. She even admitted it once upon a time about how important it is for her to appeal to a Jewish Zionist vote because a lot of them support Israel and she needs to respect her voters. So it is particularly daunting to see why they went so balls to the wall against Jamal Bowman of all people. Maybe because he was the most vulnerable, but like, I don't know what's going to change. It ain't like Jamal Bowman was voting. Y'all knew, like, we do know that he basically was voting in the same way that a lot of APAC sponsored people vote. He voted for the Iron Dome, right? He was screaming Israel has a right to defend itself. He only started saying ceasefire now very recently, right? Like, his criticisms of Netanyahu specifically are now, at this moment, no different than the public criticisms that most Democrats have been making of Netanyahu, because they're trying to scapegoat him as if getting rid of Netanyahu will change the genocide. Okay? So it is weird that AIPAC got behind and ran an opponent against Bowman, but it could also be, I just want to be honest. Because I don't support this guy. I don't have to look up his SEC documents or his FEC documents to know that he's not. We know who he's funded by, and it ain't gonna be people for us necessarily. But I do know that he at least has a record of getting shit done for Westchester. I do know that he has a record of getting stuff done for his city. Okay, maybe, just maybe, Westchester didn't like Jamal Bowman. That's a possibility. You get what I'm saying? Like, they're like, bro, you put on an act. You were in Congress worried about, be worried about Israel Palestine. Like, that's important. But like, worried about the image of the Democratic Party, worried about Donald Trump. And New York has been going through a huge transitional period since the pandemic, and most of it isn't good. Right? They're trying to kind of refine themselves and get back on average New Yorkers are trying to get back to life as it was before the pandemic, financially speaking. He hasn't done anything. You had a Democratic president, and you have not voiced your concerns about the policies that he's passed that have directly contradicted the interests of the people of Westchester. And this guy already has gotten things done under, like, he wasn't a congressperson, he was an executive. They call it county, like an executive of Westchester. So basically, he got stuff done under the same presidential, or the same president, excuse me. So Jamal Bowman had an opportunity at the U.S. Congress level to bring to the attention of the American people and to D.C. the issues that Westchester and New Yorkers were going through. And instead, he focused on bullshit while this guy was getting stuff done for Westchester. So as much as people want to blame AIPAC in this particular situation, or even flip-flopping on Gaza, which maybe that could have made the difference, right? If he would have just stood his ground on Gaza, maybe we're having a different conversation. Maybe. But after you read this guy, like you read about the election, you read this guy's history in Westchester, you read why some people endorse him, you find out like, oh, actually, yeah, maybe AIPAC put him up, but I think that the people of Westchester just don't like Jamal Bowman anymore. And that's probably a possibility that we need to weigh. Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. AIPAC didn't even need to spend all that money because, by the way, it was the most expensive congressional race in history, in case y'all didn't know. Redistricting enabled Hillary Clinton's endorsement of Latimer to have maximum effect. Yep, that's true. It's true. Now, it's an important, I'm glad you brought that up, by the way. Hold on, they're arguing with the trolls on RBN. What? Who arguing with what trolls? Anyway, so yeah, no, that's important to remember because that's the same thing they did to Cynthia McKinney, but Cynthia McKinney was firmly in the anti-Israel, pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine, anti-AIPAC camp, like firmly to this day, is still standing on business. She ain't her 10 toes down. 10 toes down. Jamal Bowman was not that, which is why it's weird. It's just weird to me. I don't know. Maybe they thought, I don't know. I feel like perhaps with the redistricting that happened, maybe this guy just saw an opportunity and AIPAC spent the money because they're like, well, he isn't Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman is now, he's ceasefire. And therefore, we're going to throw the money behind him now. Right? That could be it. I just don't believe that all the, like Sparky said, I don't think that AIPAC had to spend all that money to beat him. Because this guy just has the credentials. He had Westchester. He had the district. He has tangible gains for the district. And also, he don't do embarrassing shit. Like we gonna look at that. No, we can't. I can't not look at it now because it was just so damn goofy. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Hold on. I'm find it. Oh, where you at? Y'all know what I'm looking for. AOC, DJ AOC, the hype man. DJ Khaled. That's what she thought she was. Where is it at? Oh, damn, where is it at? I just had it. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I put it over here. I just had it. Nah, I'm not going till I find this. I'm not letting y'all go till we can laugh together at DJ AOC. Ah, there we go. Yeah. What is, y'all gotta tell me, guys, what is going on here? What's happening? What is happening? What? Bro. 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 Win it back. It what? First of all, what the hell? Like I said, it literally like what you had a rave and the Addy and the Molly hit at the same time, and you like, oh shit, I'm feeling it now. All right. You see that random white guy dancing? That boy just swear he killing it, but he actually look wild. And if you've ever been to a rave, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the white boy that dancing wild because both the Molly and the Addy and the alcohol hit at the same time. But now we also drunk and nobody wanted to be the Debbie Downer. So now he got a group of people cheering on his horrible dancing. So he don't even know he dancing bad. That is what we just witnessed. But the real question is, take the country back from who? Are you ready to take the country back? Also, whenever they said when Trump said that, it was like treasonous, right? I'm just out of curiosity. Wasn't it AOC who said that? I don't know. Like maybe I just got a bad memory. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But also, take it back from who? Your president is in charge right now. The guy that you endorsed. Y'all had the House. Y'all had the Senate. Take the country back from who? The guy that you already endorsed? Half those Congress members, or I guess the majority of those Congress members that you already endorsed? Take the country back from who, guys? I'm genuinely curious. Bruh. I'm like, that's like, imagine me like stealing all my, like going into my own house, stealing all my shit, putting it in storage somewhere, running back to my house, be like, yo, who the hell robbed me, man? Let me call the cop. Like, I just got amnesia, like I forgot who robbed me. Boy, it was you who robbed you. What you mean? Yo, shit, it's in storage. You can control this situation. This is in your hands. You can go get your stuff back right now. What you mean, who robbed you? You robbed you. What? Take my country back. And what the hell was all this? Somebody, who convinced AOC she really was from the Bronx? Like, see, that's the problem. Somebody actually convinced AOC she actually was from the Bronx, or that she actually is from the Bronx. And she started believing in her own lie, like, because she ain't really from the Bronx. Like, she used to visit the Bronx, ironically, out of Westchester, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But no, she's not actually from the Bronx. But sometimes when you see that sugar poured into that Kool-Aid, it just looks so good. You know what I'm saying? Parece tão sabroso. You just start believing, and you got to sip your own Kool-Aid every now and then. Because that, it just, you know what I'm saying? Like, the sugar hit just right, dissolved so perfect that you just start drinking your own Kool-Aid. And now she thinks she Cardi B. Jesus Christ. Anyway, man, let's go watch this debate, y'all. I'm going to go watch it. I'm going to suffer with y'all. Hey, but once again, it's kind of bullshit that, just before we leave, it is bullshit that people have to pay to watch the debate between two. And we don't know if we're going to get another one, right? Okay, so there's that. But you got to pay to watch the debate. Oh, like between two people that are competing to pretend to be the leader of the nation. I mean, theater, but and the way they're presenting it is that those two people are competing to be the leader of the nation, but you can only know what their policies are if you decide to pay $11.99 a month for one of the streaming services, or pay whatever obscene price that people are paying right now for cable. That is democracy, right? It costs you. Hope you can. That should literally be the phrase of the catchphrase, or the what is the word? The marketing for America. Democracy. Hope you can afford it. That should be the catchphrase. That should be America's catchphrase. For real. Man. Do dissidents on Rumble covering it? Okay, cool. So y'all can go over and do dissidents on Rumble. Check those guys out. I might do the same, man. I got HBO Max, but I'm almost like don't even want to stream it there, just because it's bullshit that anybody should have to pay, any American should have to pay to watch people talk about the future of the country that they want to run when you live in the damn country, and the policies will affect you. But, God forbid we educate voters, right? Because that could mean that they actually make rational decisions. Like, neither one of these motherfuckers should be president. God forbid they do that, right? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream podcast. For the People podcast specifically. Make sure y'all subscribe, man. Like this video. Help us get back to 50,000 subscribers. Share this video. Follow us on Telegram. The links in the description below. So become a Patreon supporter. Support us every month. So we can get some damn help over here, guys. I'm tired. Like I said, y'all, I'm fighting the war with my kids. They winning. They're winning the war. So we need some help. Y'all can help support us by either, you can donate through Super Chat, but also it really helps people to become members of the YouTube channel and to become members of Patreon, or become a member on Rockfin as well. So make sure y'all check that out. Try to enjoy the debate, but always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.